Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Hollywood After Dark, episode number 96. Today, of course, is October 11th, 2021. Tonight, Dave Chappelle, backed by Netflix. Clark Kent's son, gay. Alan Horn, bisexual. I'm sure I get that right. Even in the intro, Alan Horn retiring and a whole bunch more. Here tonight on the show, let's get the hell into it. Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? Welcome to the show tonight. I know I'm not in camera. I've just been having some technical issues today. Today's been a funky day. All right, so let me explain. For one, I have two announcements. One, my car is absolutely screwing up electrically, so that's going to be an interesting mechanic visit here in a couple days. My check engine light came on, my battery light then came on, and then now everything's going haywire. It's probably something to do with the battery, low voltage. I just got an oil change the other day and they told me that my car was fine. My battery was fine. Everything checks out, which makes me really question literally if the dealer, which I've been going to for years and I very much enjoy my time there and the service they provide. I just now kind of wondering if I'm getting a little shafted, which I really hope not. So I have to go and deal with that. That's been my day on that front. Oh my God. However, so I do have a little bit of unfortunate news, but I want to address it. Annie, check the group chat. It's in there. And so last night I made the choice to remove Anthony Chappelle from the audience, and I need to explain why. Because for those of you who are here every night, I appreciate it. I appreciate Anthony. I appreciate anyone who watches the show. The big problem when it comes to someone like Anthony is that they clearly have boundary issues, and he clearly has special needs. And I try to accommodate that to the best of my ability. I try to give him time to talk about what he wants to talk about when we do call-ins. And he DMs me on Twitter all the time. He messages me every night after the stream. But lately it's been more obsessive. It's been almost to an extent more aggressive in the chat. If you guys have been noticing that at all, there has been a bit of that's been going on. Mods and myself have had to mute him for 6 minutes because I've had to publicly call him out. What got me last night was he went on his Facebook and he started rallying on about how he was upset that I didn't bring him on the show, and he thought I was lying about having to take my daughter to school because today is, quote, Columbo Day. And then he started looking into Washington rules and regulations for preschool and whether or not they adhere to Columbo Day. And I felt as a parent, as a person who does put themselves out there, that is a step too far. And it's been, again, increasing. HBarts can actually back me up on that. He's been watching Anthony's behavior for a while now, and it's something that I don't like to have to do. But I just wanted to let you guys know the context of why. And I feel that it's just best to be open and honest and transparent with everybody on that subject. I don't have any ill feelings toward the guy. I don't wish him any ill will whatsoever. I wish him only the best, but I feel that for my own personal boundaries and my own personal, situation, it would be best to not have him around for a while. So maybe one day we will, maybe one day things will work itself out. But in the meantime, if we see anyone with his name, because he does have multiple YouTube accounts, multiple Facebook accounts, multiple Twitter accounts, multiple Instagram accounts. He absolutely does. Keep an eye out for that. And that's just what I want to say on that one. I wish him the best, but it's not going to be here. So anyway, we got Anna. What's going on, Anna?
Hey, what's up? First time being on here in quite a while. I'm glad to be joining you.
Yeah, thank you. I know you've been trying. It's been a while here. Hold on. I'm sorry. Simon here. Dropped this here. Hey, Jarbo669. I don't recall adding this to my name subscription. I would like to know more. What?
669. That's the funny number. It's the funny number, eh?
I don't recall adding this to my name subscription.
It's probably like a funny. It's probably like a funny joke, you know.
Maybe I don't know. I mean, like Jarbo0069 is my gamer tag.
I mean 6 and then 69. That's the joke. 69.
Is it? I guess funny. I get 69.
Well, you don't think that's funny?
No, well, no. I'm just trying to understand, like, if something happened.
Oh, okay. No. I mean, I don't get it.
I don't know. I mean, like 69, dude.
Yeah, that's good enough for me.
There we go on that one. But before we dive into it too far, I do need to get to the first little bit of the night, and that, of course, is giving a shout out to the IMAX members. You guys are amazing here. You guys are fantastic. Thank you all so much. We got our Prime members here, the $5 group. You guys get your name up here. And of course, the Matinee members, where you guys are also a huge part of the channel. Really appreciate that for everyone here who donates to the channel. Thank you all. This month, we are going to be giving away The Thing in 4K. That's right. If you want to be frightened to hell and back in 4K, become a channel member. Get your mic, get your ass in maybe on that competition. Yeah. And also today, I just want to pimp this too. This is movie related. So this Friday, The Last Duel comes out, which is the new Ridley Scott, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck movie. And I covered the true story on Stranger Days. I wrote it today, recorded it today, sent it off to my editor today. And so that should be out the end of the week. It is a fascinating story. And I really wonder how the movie is going to handle it, to be honest with you, because I just really wonder how deep they're going to go with everything, or how much they're gonna sensationalize, because they're gonna probably have to sensationalize a lot.
Oh, definitely. Like, there's gonna be a lot of sensationalization, but I guarantee you, like, that could be an Academy Award bait.
Oh, no, totally. But the thing is, like, here's the thing with that story. It's literally 3/4 of a millennia old. You know, wow. It's like, it literally it is. It's like it was in 1386 is when it happened. Yeah. So The Last Duel was in 1386. So it's almost like, you know, it's over a quarter. It's a lot. It's very much a lot. Yeah. So it's definitely fucking wild, man.
That's nuts.
Like it's almost 3/4 of a millennium old. And you know, at this point they can literally say whatever they want. Every person involved with that story is dust and ash and molecule at this point.
Yep.
So it's like
no accountability.
Yeah. And TW here says, yeah, The Last Duel's real story is an interesting one. That's right. It is. And I think my video is like 32 minutes. So it's a very, very interesting thing. So that was a lot of fun to do today. That will be up this week. I'll be able to link to it at the end of the week and stuff. But in the meantime, I've been wanting to get Anna on because there's been a lot of conversation surrounding Dave Chappelle and things that he has said this week in a new a bit special. And I kind of wanted to very controversial. You know what, like I feel like with the Dave Chappelle thing, the vast majority of like his special was very much aimed at the trans community. And I
found that a bit strange that the majority of the special was
it, you know, like, I mean, I get what he was trying to say. I do, like, I really do. And because I've been watching Dave Chappelle literally since like Half Baked and like Con Air and shit, you know? So it's like, I've been watching his stand up for decades now. I get what he's trying to say, but it's like, there was a tinge of anger behind his voice with this particular thing. Cause I think when he was criticized with Sticks and Stones, it got under his skin, you know? And then I think he just wanted to go like full out with it.
Oh no, definitely 100%. If you want just kind of like my overall opinion on it, look, I think he said a lot of really stupid shit. I do. But I also think that a lot of the time he hits the nail on the head. So I'm not willing to throw out the fucking baby with the bathwater just because someone has one bad take or a few bad takes doesn't mean that I'm just gonna disregard everything that they have to say and just be like, this person, well, it was nice knowing you. It's like, no. I hope he changes and evolves his opinion. Unfortunately, it seems like the response that he was given, and I kind of figured this would happen, because a lot of time people only focus on like the most extreme negative opinions, and that's just how human beings work. But I figured that when he saw that type of shit, that the reaction would not be good, and that it would double down, and it would result in this type of shit. And it seems like that's exactly what's happening. I don't know. It's sad. I feel like
Well,
the whole situation kind of sets things back like 5 years or so.
it kind of does. It kind of does. But his argument, like, his argument was, there's a line in the special where he says, like, you can kill an N-word at a Walmart in North Carolina and still have a career, but you can't insult a gay man's feelings. And that was I'm paraphrasing, but that was basically about what he said. And he was talking about DaBaby. Like, DaBaby killed a guy, apparently, in a Walmart in Wilmington, North Carolina, and still had a career, but he went on stage and said what he said, and that canceled his career.
Well,
so it's very much like the severity of the crime, almost like the harder you go, it's almost like they're like, oh, okay.
I don't know if he was trying to make a joke exclusively when he was saying that, or if he was also trying to actually like, make an insightful comment. And look, either way, that's fine. He's entitled to his opinion, but I feel like you can't conflate those two things, because race issues and gender issues, LGBT issues, it would be like comparing, like, okay, well, let's make this point about like weed legalization, and let's make this point about the oil industry at the same time. It's like these two things are not necessarily intertwined. You do not have to like make these comparisons. Yes, there are plenty of cases in this country where there's racial inequality, sure, but like that doesn't mean that you just disregard the other problems in this country just because that might be still an issue in some parts of this country. You know what I mean?
I think for one, I think he absolutely really wanted the reaction that he got.
No, I agree 100%.
And he definitely was happy with it. And we'll talk a bit about that here in a minute. But I agree with your point. I think you can have multiple conversations. There was another part there where he was like, I think what it is he's frustrated at the black community, because he kind of made a comment about that in the special. He's frustrated at the black community for like not organizing well enough. Whereas like the gay and trans community have organized exceptionally well, in his opinion. And that's what's allowed them to have like the progress that they've had.
Look, to the people who actually watch the special, it's evident that I don't think he's coming at this from any like malicious intent. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen his most recent fucking comment, so we'll get into that. But like, I don't know. I just feel like he's not really well informed. I feel like that's really what it boils down to when it comes to a lot of this shit. I feel like he's not really well informed, and he is really well informed on a number of other issues. On the shit that he knows, he's really good. He hits the nail on the head a lot of the fucking time. And like I said, just because someone gets a few things wrong doesn't mean that they should be fucking canceled and, taken off.
Well, can you cancel a person that's worth several $100 million?
Apparently you can't.
I mean, and I think that's kind of also maybe the whole point is like when talking about cancel culture, if you are affluent enough, you have the ability to withstand literally any tide. Like, I mean, even Kevin Spacey is coming back. Give it a couple years. Give it a couple years and Meryl Streep will be, announcing him winning an award at the Oscars, acting like nothing fucking happened, because that's how Hollywood is. That's how Hollywood literally is. Like as long as their bubble does not get rocked, they're perfectly fine. Literally looking the way on a number of other things. So there's definitely that part of it too. I mean, again, I saw the special. I enjoyed the special. I've always enjoyed Dave Chappelle's work. But I understand that people out there are definitely feeling angry about this. Tony here with $5 money. Thank you. Asking, do you think people were right to be angry in any way? I mean, I think you can take anything generally however you want. I mean, because, a lot of it is a guttural emotional reaction, which is not always really backed up by rational fact.
I think anger is a lot of the time very unhealthy. I was disappointed in what he had to say when I, actually examined it for myself and didn't just look at some out of context fucking quotes. Like, I came to the conclusion, like, I'm kind of disappointed in his take on this, but not everyone has to hit a fucking bullseye every time. And this is a really unfortunate issue, you know, me being myself for him to fall flat on. But whatever. You know, he's a fallible fucking human being. We'll move on to something next week, and I'm sure, like, he'll come up with another comedy special, and people will praise it as being fucking amazing, and we'll all forget about it within, like, the next month or two.
Well, he said that he's taking time off. He says that he doesn't want to, that he's not going to talk about, like, you know, the LGBTQ community at all until they can laugh together. I can't quite tell if this was meant to be like either a line in the sand or a call for unity. I can't really tell because I don't know. You know, like, I know that's what maybe he's attempting to do, but it's like, I mean, listening to like that special, there was very much like almost every story he told was aimed at a woman of some, you know, in some situation.
No,
And
I agree.
but he also talked about that one article from like 16 years ago. People keep hanging over his head, and you can tell that that's made him bitter, and that's made him definitely angry. And I understand that feeling. I do. I understand that feeling. Trust me. Especially in this kind of space where
But
it's like,
I also resent the idea that just, you know, also like connecting like trans people with just like, oh yeah, every trans person wants you canceled. It's like,
yeah,
that's not the case.
no, not the
Like,
case at all. Not the case at all.
and I'm not saying, no, I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying, like, he might get that impression, like, oh, this is all like one community. This is the LGBT community who's always pushing for this shit. When really, it's a lot of fucking straight white people who end up pushing this fucking stupid bullshit and making an
oh
ass out
god,
of everybody.
straight white people are the worst.
No, they aren't. But they can be, just like anyone else can be terrible.
Dude, let's be fair. We're fucking terrible at a lot of this shit. Because we overcorrect. We overcorrect because we want to do the right thing, but we don't know how to do the right thing.
For that, so like,
As a cis het white half Canadian partial Jew, on my dad's side, so it doesn't even count.
yeah,
But
that doesn't count. That's weird.
it's still there. Also, apparently, a fair amount Italian and like Dutch and Scottish. I don't know. I'm according to my 23andMe, I'm like 99% European white. So I don't know what that means for any kind of authority
like,
on anything. It's definitely not.
Do you know what
here.
country your last name's from? Because I've always wondered that.
Yeah.
Like
So
French.
the etymology of Jarbo actually, and I love being able to actually use that word in proper context. So apparently, according to my aunt, who was really into genealogy, it goes back to Germany.
Germany. Okay.
Germany, yeah, like way back in the day. Like it originally was Gerbalt, Gerbault.
That's pretty cool too.
And then it migrated over to Canada, and it ended up becoming Jarbeau, Jarbeaux, which I think is a cooler spelling, by the way.
Oh,
You know,
so there is some French in there. Okay.
Oh, very much. That's what I joke. My friends call me Jarbeau, La France Connoque. You know, and it's kind of true. And then, because my mom, you know, my mom has family. My mom was born in Canada. My dad has a bunch of family from Canada. So, like, I have a lot of Canadian roots in me and shit. And apparently, like, for the Jewish part of it, my family was like, we're known as the Reichmans in Germany. And then they fled Germany to avoid persecution. And this was like, I was like, oh, during like World War II. My aunt's like, no, like fucking 400 years ago. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, that's not as cool of a story. I'm just saying, it's like your family flees Germany due to Jewish persecution. And you're like, yeah, there's a whole part of our history that deals with that shit. And then you're like, is it from then? Were they like, you know, outrunning the Nazis in the Swiss Alps, like the fucking Von Trapp family? And like, no, they just left like in the 1600s. Woo. That's not a story you tell at a bar, you know? It's not a heroic tale of trying to outrun the Nazis. Come on. But no, then they went to England and changed their name to Richmond, and then they traveled, I think, to Canada and whatever. So a lot, and I think they went to like Ellis Island and shit too. It's like, I don't know. I gotta go ask my aunt for all that info. But that is as far as I can tell the etymology on my name.
Isn't it weird that like you have to come out of a Jewish woman's vagina for it to actually count?
Yeah.
Like that's a
I
bit
guess.
strange. Like just
Like,
compared
it
to how
is-
other religions are. I don't know. That's
I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. You can also just go and like convert. I've been to a B'nai B'rith.
It's difficult to do that though, right?
I mean, like, is it? It's mostly just like go.
I've been
like,
told it's a lot of years of studying to convert.
Nah, not really. Like, not really. It's there's studying involved because you have to recite from the Torah, but it's not like, a lot of. I'm not saying it's as easy as going and like getting your name changed on your driver's license or some shit like that, or gender in the state of Lauren, or in the case of Lauren Southern in Toronto, is a lot harder to become a Jew than to change your gender in Canada. I don't know why I made that comparison, but I was making an old school skeptic joke.
Why the Lord? Oh, she did it for the lulz.
She did it for the lulz. Apparently, so did Vito Gasoldi. Vito Gasoldi is apparently registered as a female in the state of California. That's a weird way to own the libs. Like even as like a trolling joke, it's like, I don't know.
By
like,
living out your fantasy, yeah, that's weird.
I mean, look, my fantasy is like 2 chicks at the same time, man. You know what I mean? Not becoming one.
Hey, we all have our dreams.
Yeah. Martin Luther King fought for us all.
Wow, yeah.
I have a dream to go balls deep in 2 women at the same time. No, sorry, that's my dream. His dream was to unite the races and end racism and be a good person. I'm just motivated by my penis. Moving on.
Moving on.
Zeno here says 2 chicks is overrated. Anyway. All right. I just like to tell jokes. You guys can laugh or not laugh. It's perfectly fine. Someone left a comment last night saying I need to do stand-up comedy.
Oh my God.
And I'm just sitting there going like, yeah, man, like, yeah, I could totally do, I would bomb in a heartbeat. I would bomb in a heartbeat doing stand-up comedy. Hold on. I want to address this one from Simon here. He says, I'm sorry. It's Simon section 66.9 WTF. Oh, is that listed on the thing? Is that listed on on this thing? Did I put it in wrong? Which one are you? Hold on. Let me see here. I might have screwed it up here. Simon
section 66.9.
Oh, yeah. I know what happened there. So I was trying to get this. I'll fix it for tomorrow. I'm so sorry, buddy. What happened was that is the font size. And I was trying to like I was doing some shit with the fonts, and it's the font size is 66.9. There you go on that one, man. That's my bad. Whoopsie daisy.
6.9, dude.
There you go. That happens. All right. So let's keep this Chappelle show conversation going because no wait, I didn't want to start with this article here because that's where we get into some deep shit. So according to Deadline here, Dave Chappelle's latest Netflix special doesn't cross the line on hate, according to Ted Sarandos, who's the guy in charge of all that shit over there at Netflix. And the staffer who criticized the trans remarks in the closer has been suspended.
By the way, this headline's very misleading, I will say.
Is it?
Yeah, because the reason why they were suspended wasn't even because of this.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, obviously you can tell where some of the headlines are designed this way. Because I mean, look at this one here.
No, definitely, yeah.
Netflix suspends 3 employees, including a trans person who spoke out against Dave Chappelle for crashing. For crashing leadership meeting.
Yeah, exactly, right there. And that's the thing. Like, it took me like 5 times reading through these articles to actually realize that that's what they meant. I had to read through this multiple times, multiple articles. But now, to be fair, it looks like there could be some type of connection here, but the fact that a bunch of headlines are selling it as if there's 100% of connection here is very disingenuous. But no, there's still a conversation to be had here about what he actually said. So we can take a look at that.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that here. Hold on here. Terrence says tasteless MLK quip. All right, I'll agree. My humor is often very tasteless. I will fully admit that, Terrence. My humor is often very tasteless. So there is that. But yeah, I was just going for a joke.
It's called humor.
I mean, some things. Look, I'll be first to admit some things crash and burn. Okay, and if it crashes and burns, I usually laugh at myself over that one too.
Okay.
And then Matt here asking, what do you think of Superman son being bi? We'll talk about that. That's up on the thing as well.
We'll touch upon that.
Simon here says 2 girls and 1 Jarbo. Like I said, man, that's what I'm into. And then Simon here says, I prefer Simon section 616. Okay, fine. I'll add it into 616. There you go.
That's funny. That's awesome.
I'll make it that. You'll be Simon section 616. Can we call you Simon C section 616? See, I have very, very tasteless humor. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you gotta giggle like me.
You got if you don't laugh, it's the only way to keep you from like probably killing yourself. So, I'm just saying we live in really bad times, man.
We live in a society.
Yeah. I really wish that line was in the Snyder Cut, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
with
me
you.
too. Me too.
I really wish that line. Yeah, I know. We live in a society. I was like, oh, that's great. Anyway, so let's take a look here at what the article itself is saying. All right. A Netflix engineer critical on social media about trans remarks Dave Chappelle made in his special The Closer has been suspended by the streamer as CEO Ted Sarandos declares the company doesn't believe the GLAAD slammed special crosses the line of hate. Saying it should also be...
I just want to point out real fast, like, these are things that happened independently, and that sentence right there just worded it as if it was the result of that, when there's nothing to really suggest that was what caused it. Like, it was because they tried to crash that meeting. Now, like I said, there could be a relation, but there's nothing official, and they're making out like there is. Like, it's so misleading. It's so misleading.
Yeah. Hold on here. Steven says, Jarbo didn't read the article just like folks didn't read the Chappelle special. Well, the Variety article I literally just grabbed before going live. I did read the Sarandos comments earlier today. So I know what Sarandos was saying earlier today.
It's okay. I did my research.
As for that, I literally just like jumped on. I'm like looking, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get my notes from earlier. And that article popped up. It wasn't done on purpose. It was just like, I watched the Chappelle's comedy special and I liked it, as I probably would. But all right. So he says here, you should also be aware that some talent may join third parties in asking us to remove the show in coming days, which we are not going to do. This was sent to employees Friday following the top tier staff meetings. This is from last week, right? They knew that this was going to be controversial. Like, this wasn't something that they were like unprepared for. They knew what was going to happen.
Exactly. Like, when it comes to a lot of this, I know that corporations, for a fact, like, this is the most free marketing that they can possibly get. Like, they want people talking about this shit nonstop. And, like, this has just been, like, for a lot of people who make content, the gift that keeps on giving. Like, they've been able to talk about this shit for the past 3 days consistently. Have shit to talk about.
Well, it's very much part of the culture of all that too.
It's an important conversation to have. Though, so.
It is. And also just, hold on. I have immediate breaking news. There is Simon section 616 right there. No. There you go, buddy. I went and changed it real quick for you. So there you go. Thank you.
Wow, it takes me forever to do that shit. You care about your fans, clearly.
I do care about my fans. Like, I do. I don't even like to say the word fan. I care. Yeah. Viewers, listeners. I mean, I that's how I view it, man. Like, I don't like to put like the terminology or whatever out there like that. Some people do, but I'm not. It is what it is. All right. So. Almost simultaneously with Sarandos' memo going public Monday, staffer Tara Field, who lamented in an October 6th tweet that the Netflix allowed the closer to attack the trans community, and the very validity of transness has been suspended. So, now claiming the timely move had nothing to do with Field throwing shade on one of the streamer's biggest draws, Netflix on Monday, which is National Coming Out Day, that was today, by the way, issued a bland statement claiming it's absolutely untrue to say that we have suspended any employees for tweeting about the show. Our employees are encouraged to disagree openly, and we support their right to do so.
What the fuck's up with this headline?
Well, it's whoever the editor is over there at Deadline.
How are you gonna have that in the fucking article, and then have the headline that literally contradicts exactly what you're fucking saying?
Well. So it says here, staffer who criticized trans remarks in the closer suspended. That is effectively a true headline.
Oh my god!
Because
no, you're right.
I'm right. It's technically,
it's kind of true.
But it's very, it's technically true. Now, then it says here, on the other hand, Field, who may or may not have joined a high-level meeting last week along with 2 other employees that the engineer wasn't supposed to attend, is taking the high road on social media. And honestly, that's a smart move for Tara there. Because if Tara did not do that, then she would probably be out of a job. But by getting suspended, if she did crash the thing. So, all right. So I want to know more about that. Okay. So we already know about the rest of this kind of shit.
Yeah, we've
so let's find out more about this crashing. All right. So, Tara Field, a senior software engineer based in Frisco, was among those suspended late last week for attending the QBR, Netflix's quarterly business review, a 2-day affair that convenes the top 500 employees at the company. Field, who identifies as queer and trans, and the other employees were not identified to the virtual gathering, according to insiders. Netflix did not suspend Field over recent tweets decrying what she called anti-trans jokes in Chappelle's special. Individuals familiar with Netflix said before attending uninvited. The investigation has been launched into the 3 employees. Now, to me, that's really weird. To be honest with you, I mean, like, it's kind of sus, Annie. I'm not gonna.
No. I agree. No, I agree. Like, no, I'm not saying that there's not. I'm just saying, like, there's not really enough here to suggest concretely that the reason why this happened is because of what was stated. You know, there's not enough really here concrete for me to say, oh, this is the case. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just a conspiracy theory. You know, without much.
Well, yeah. It's I mean, like, look, this has kind of happened before where if it was here's the thing, it was a virtual meeting because of COVID. So it wasn't like meant to be a thing. So it's possible somebody gave them the invite or they got their hands on the invite and they clicked the link and they went on in. You know, that's happened before as well with like some of these Zoom calls. Like I forget who it was that was able to hack into a Zoom call. I forget for like which company or whatever, you know, Zoom is not the most protected. Honestly, like StreamYard is probably better protected than Zoom because you can. Zoom sucks, man. But yeah, so that's probably what's going on with that. Let's see if there's any more here.
It's ironic it's called Zoom because it's for fucking boomers.
Jeez, oh my God. Don't quit your day job.
This is my day job.
Now they said here, all right, we already know about the about that quote about they said they didn't do it. And they're talking about Field and everything she had said about Dave, which we know about. Now, when Sarandos here is saying that Chappelle is one of the most popular stand-up comedians today, I'd argue probably the most popular stand-up comedian today. Definitely. And we have had a long-standing deal with him. His last special, Sticks and Stones, also controversial, is our most watched, stickiest, and most award-winning stand-up special to date. As with our other talent, we work hard to support their creative freedom, even though this means there will always be content on Netflix some people believe is harmful. You know, I mean, like, and then, you know, yeah, you got like Jack and Moore stepping out here, but there's another line in the comment here in his memo that they're leaving out of this quote right here, right? So it's like, they'll always be harmful. And then look at this here. In his memo, which Variety just very much happens to leave the fuck out for some reason.
Oh,
mentions
wow.
Cuties, 365 days, 13 reasons why in my unorthodox life. So Cuties for one, that's a massive thing.
Nobody likes that.
No, I mean, yeah, no, I mean, not here in the States. I don't know. I mean, you know, I think one guy on YouTube gave it a positive review and people are screaming to the hilltops he's a pedo. I don't know what 365 days is, to be honest with you. I've never heard of that. Let me Google that, what the hell that one is. Cause I never heard of it. It's a romance/drama. All right. So it's got a 3.3 out of 10 on fucking Netflix right now.
Look, we all know why they cut this out because the first fucking one right there.
Yeah.
This was cut out.
Let's see here. So the plot line to 365 days is Massimo is a member of the Sicilian mafia family and Laura is a sales director. She does not expect that on a trip to Sicily to save her relationship, Massimo will kidnap her and give her 365 days to fall in love with him. Okay. So it's like Stockholm Syndrome, the fucking movie, I guess. That's what they're going over here.
That's fucking weird.
Now,
Okay.
yeah, that's a little bit on the weird side. Now 13 Reasons Why. I mean, that one I definitely understand the controversy. That I mean, it was banned. It was banned in high schools. Like in some high schools, they banned people from even talking about it at all. Literally, like
I don't know what it is.
13 Reasons Why is about a girl who commits suicide. And it's about like she wrote a book or something or a diary that gave like I don't know the full context, but it was basically I know that she committed suicide, and then it was like a big drama. They did like it was a book that they turned into a series, and then they did like 2 more seasons of it for some reason because it was popular, and the last 2 seasons apparently were pretty bad, but the first season was like really impactful. And a lot of kids were talking about suicide. A lot of kids were Googling suicide, and it got high schools to freak out. There was like this massive like anti 13 Reasons Why pandemic that happened, right? Or epidemic that happened of where they're just like, oh my God, these kids are, they thought it was like going to be like the fucking blue whale game. You ever hear of the blue whale game?
The fuck's the blue whale
Oh,
game?
you're not oh yeah, you ain't a fucking Zoomer. Right? What would you? You're like a millennial?
No.
What are the younger fucking kids called?
I know I was born in 1998.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, Zoomer. Okay, fine.
Most people consider me that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, before the turn of the century and shit. But anyway, so the blue whale game, and I'm paraphrasing on this one. It's it was big in Tumblr and in other countries. Effectively what it is, it's a grooming game. And the idea is like it puts you up to challenges. Like, can you stay awake till 2:00 in the morning? And then can you stay awake till 3:00, 4:00, 5:00? Don't sleep. And do this days on days on days. Don't eat. Don't do, very much all designed to make the person wear down their mental fortitude and to get them into a very suggestive state. And then the last challenge is that they have to kill themselves. I am not making that up. That is a real thing that was going around on the internet. It's been called a hoax for a while, but like there's been a couple reports where it seems like it could be considered legit, like someone was actually doing this. But hey, guess what? Hollywood making it a movie.
Of course.
I just saw this like a couple weeks ago. Article flew. I should probably go maybe pull it up one day. But yeah, I saw the article floating around that they're making a blue whale game. I'm like, really? Wow. That's I mean, sure. You fucking manimals.
Manimals.
And then I don't know my unorthodox life. What is my unorthodox life here? I don't know what this
Never
one is.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah, this shows you how much Netflix I watch if it's not The Witcher. All right. That's not what I wanted. I didn't want to Google the woman. I wanted to Google something else. I Googled the wrong thing, Annie. That's my problem. All right, copy. Okay, what is...
Watch yourself some Castlevania.
Yeah, I need to... Yeah, I didn't watch that yet either. All right, so this show, My Unorthodox Life, is the personal and professional life of a fashion mogul, Julia Hart, a former member of an ultra-Orthodox Jewish community. That's what the show is.
Damn, Jews must be that controversial over on Netflix, huh?
I guess it's probably banned in Saudi Arabia.
Is that really the reason it's controversial?
No, I mean, well, there was that episode, there was that show Patriot Act with Hassan Minaj.
Not the reason. That'd be sad.
No. There was an episode of Patriot Act with Hassan Minaj. They did an episode about, I think it was about like Saudi Arabia and shit. And like, it was something that was banned in Saudi Arabia. Like Netflix pulled it in Saudi Arabia because the government's like, hey, can you get rid of this? Like, it's going to make us look pretty bad. We don't want our people here being educated.
Yeah.
So they pulled it.
Getting acknowledged.
So as we can see here in this particular response from Ted Sarandos, obviously Netflix is straight up backing. It's backing, Dave Chappelle.
Of course, because they make him a lot of. I mean, he makes them a lot of money.
A fuckload of money, and they paid him a fuckload of money.
And how much do you think these specials made Netflix? A ton.
I don't know. I mean, like there's no such thing as bad controversy for Netflix, but I do want to get another friend's opinion here. We have Mad Max the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I like Dave Chappelle. I think he's funny. I think though he wasn't being funny in in the clip I saw, I didn't watch the whole special yet. But I think he was more giving a political statement. I think it was across the line. He was getting very political without actually comedy surrounding it. He was just saying, "I'm team this," and I mean that's also his right to do it. But that's why I didn't particularly like that clip being out there.
Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the Beet Juice clip?
The one about I'm team surf and everything.
Oh, Team Turf. Okay, yeah. I mean, like that. I'm not gonna lie. That particular line caught me off guard.
There wasn't any comedy. I watched the context of a whole clip where he's talking about what they did to J.K. Rowling and stuff. I mean, it's a complicated subject, but just saying you're this, I'm team this.
I genuinely don't think that he knows what it means because he
did.
What?
He explained it was explained to me what it is, and he's like, "Yes, I'm that." Yes.
A radical that includes the words radical feminist. So yes. I don't see how that.
Like... No, he did say it. He did say it, and there wasn't like a lot of comedy around it. It was just like political talk. It was just like
radical feminist. Huh?
But I'm sure there's lots of funny moments in it, and I am gonna watch it. I'm not like trying to cancel the dude or anything. I just like there's a difference in trying. I think there has to be nuance in the conversation of trying to cancel people or trying to double down your ignorance is the difference. Like we just want people to be better, but there should be some freedom on the comedy stage too. I understand that as well. Like you should be feel free to do more things. But when you just do political opinions and say I'm this team, I don't particularly like that in comedy.
I don't believe in that type of tribalism anyway.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Right. So that I think that's why he's getting some pushback this time. And there were really at that moment during the special, which a lot of people have concerns with. That wasn't a joke or anything. That was just a statement. I know what it is. He basically described what happened to JK, and then they said, you know what she is. She's this, and then he's like, yeah, I'm that too. I agree with that. And that's where I'm like, this isn't comedy anymore. This is like political talk.
We're gonna cause a next.
So then I think he deserves the backlash. That's all I'm going to say.
The next event is already canceled.
But the backlash is not gonna mean anything, because like he literally used like they did a screening of his documentary at the Hollywood Bowl, and that's that whole quote of like, if this is what being canceled is like, I love it, because like it literally doesn't mean anything. Like people like the higher ups in Hollywood aren't going to come out and criticize Dave Chappelle. They're not. Like Netflix is obviously backing him because it's going to make him money, and people who are upset about it, like Netflix will tell them to pound sand.
I will say there is one concern I have about it that I haven't had a chance to voice yet, and this is just kind of like a general thing that a way that I feel about people in general is like, as much as I think like he gets things right a lot of the time, I think like there's a lot of people who just think that he's right on this just because like they think he's right on most things, so he must be right on everything. I don't like seeing people put on a pedestal where they're like treated like they're 100% flawless and they can never have a bad take. And that doesn't just go for him, that goes for everybody. Because I feel like there's a lot of people, I'm sure every one of us here has at least in some point in our lives had someone that we thought of like that. And it's just not fucking healthy because people are fallible human beings. And if you expect the world of them, then they're going to disappoint you eventually. It's just fact.
I mean, well, okay. So, Jess here, for $5, man, thank you, says the people complaining are the ones who only watch the clip. You have to watch the whole show. He was out of line, but he was right. I'm like, well, what was he right about? That's my question. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that he said.
There's a lot of things he said. So
it's like you have to kind of specify specifically what it is.
Exactly.
Mo Moon here for $2 says, fun fact, Jarbo was banned from Saudi Arabia. I most likely am. Most likely also banned in China, which really sucks because I would love to go to both countries. I absolutely would love to go to Saudi Arabia, man. Like I've seen some of the scenery there. Like I'll tell you this, Iran, fuck. If I could, I would run to Iran to go check out some of the scenery.
Visit Taiwan, Matt.
Well, I did want to, I'm probably going to leave. I just wanted to pop in real quick to show support of the show. I haven't been on a while. It's just because I've been trying to get my sleep schedule right, honestly. But I still really love all the viewers and Matt and the great conversations.
I'm not mad at you, Max. I just want you to know that.
No, I understand.
I just wanted Echo Base to hear. I wanted Echo Base to hear that because I think they need to hear it. I think they need to hear it.
But I do also want to say that I took my nieces to see Free Guy today, and it was a blast. Free Guy is amazing. It's a lot of fun. Just a great movie too. I wanted to share that as well, but I should get to bed because I need to get good sleep for work.
Good night, Max.
But I appreciate you all. No, I'm not upset at all, Matt. I'm fine.
All right. Well, yeah, it wasn't Matt. I was mostly just I wanted just to remind them that it's like
Oh, that's cool. RJ.
No, I'll probably be streaming a little bit earlier this week because my car I think is kind of fucked right now. So I talked about it at the beginning of the stream. I have to go my check engine light came on and then my battery light came on and now like all my other dash lights are coming on and my power steering isn't working and I'm like, yeah,
I'll be able to make more streams this week.
I'm like, yeah, I know. That's gonna be the thing. I'm like, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to hustle hard, man. I'll be out there going like, who's got the pasties? Let's do it. Anyway.
Good night, everyone. Axel says I'm a party pooper.
Good night, Max.
Nah, you're not a party pooper. Go to bed, though. Go to bed, you boomer.
Yeah, if I don't, I'm going to start falling asleep in the theater again. And don't forget, everyone, Amico rocks forever.
Good night, Max. Good night, Pally.
Sounds like a person who's got Stockholm syndrome. I know. Love you, Max. All right. Simon here. I missed this one earlier. It says C-section rather than salad section. Real men cut their own meat.
Well, that was certainly something. Okay.
That's an old reference, but all right. And then HWAD for $2 says, Annie, have you and RJ met Mobius yet?
I'm pretty sure Matt's our Mobius at this point.
I don't understand the context.
Yes. Because HBarts constantly says that we're both variants of each other.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, because there's like a few people in the chat who think we sound similar. So.
Yeah, they were like the exact same person.
No, I can tell you guys apart. Well, but yeah, I also listen to you talk a lot. Yeah. So yeah. So it's like, but then there's a guy named John Kelly who sounds a lot like me. Like literally does. And
really?
and he's insane. Well, I heard one of his rants once and I literally thought I was listening to myself. Like, I don't remember saying this.
Damn,
actually, something really funny. I went to a convention recently, right? And there was a guy in the line. I swear to God, Matt, he looked just like you if he was like a redneck.
A redneck.
Like he had your exact face structure. He just a little tubbier, but he looked just like you.
It was a
he looked just like you. He had like a really thick Southern accent. He talked like you. I swear to God, I thought, does Matt Jarbo have a fucking cousin over in Alabama?
No, here's the thing with that. So when I went to E3 for like my second time in 2001, I made the joke to my buddy. I'm like, this place is like a fucking cloning facility for fat white dudes with glasses and beards. And I'm like the fucking medium version. It's like everyone's like small, medium, or large. Because this is like, it's just like the standard. I'm just telling you. I'm just saying.
It was just so distracting because every time I was like, I didn't want to keep looking at the guy because I didn't want to be a weirdo. But it's like, he looks like fucking Matt
There
Jarbo.
are people out there that I'm not that unique in the way that I look. So there is that.
There's other Jarbo's.
There are more.
There's more.
Hey, listen, maybe someone, like took my blood, cloned me when I was a child, and
So
like,
it's basically Spider-Man's Clone Saga, but less shitty.
Sure. I mean, you could, without any powers and a lot more masturbation.
How's that less shitty?
Don't ask questions you're not prepared to hear the answer to.
All right.
I don't know. I don't read comics, so I don't know. But all right. Thank you guys all for that. Now, okay, the last thing one here made a point. I did want to bring this up because I'm kind of torn on how I feel about it, to be honest with you. So he says here about Chappelle, I think equating trans people to blackface, that's kind of offensive since blackface is mocking, demeaning, and clearly fake. So saying that it's the same as trans is saying that they are the same. I don't know if that's necessarily, I mean, I know that's the context, but like, a joke I like to make about, let's say, the Big Bang Theory, I call it nerd blackface because it is. It's written to invoke a certain emotion out of a certain subsect of people. And you can tell that it's done.
I've always found that an appropriate description.
I don't understand how anyone can like that show. The Big Bang Theory is an
abomination.
It's terrible. It is terrible. It
appeals to the lowest common denominator of nerd culture, quote unquote.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
And it's just like, and it's not done by. It's all just, you can tell it's all written Like Wikipedia is like is what they use to how they go. How do we describe quantum physics? And they're like, just go to Wikipedia and grab literally the first 3 sentences, and that's going to be a Sheldon
bingo
joke.
Bongo theory. Fuck that shit. No one likes it.
Bazinga. Okay, that actually was pretty funny. There were some funny things in that show. I've watched a fair amount of it,
Bazinga's not funny.
I thought Bazinga was kind of funny. I'm a little bit more boomery, I think.
Bazinga's like so unfunny that it became a meme.
But I think that's why it's funny. It's like, have you ever seen The Room? The Room is one of the shittiest movies ever fucking made, but I unironically adore it.
Bazinga.
That's different though. The Room is The Room is so bad it's good.
But the thing is though, it wasn't made with the intent to be shit.
Oh, I know.
That is why it's so good.
But it wasn't meant to be comedy.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't, and that's why it's so good. I love
the Big Bang Theory is meant to be a comedy.
I know. It's so sad how much money they made. They're like, there was one time at Comic-Con I was actually at a Big Bang Theory.
Are they still doing Young Sheldon, by the way?
Yes,
that's true. Yes, still running, yeah.
And CBS keeps pushing that fucking goddamn Twitter account.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go on. Oh.
And I blocked that stupid fucking account. Fucking don't care about Young Sheldon. The only thing that's cool, I'll say this. The only thing that's interesting about Young Sheldon is the fact that Sheldon's mom in Big Bang Theory is played by Laurie Metcalf, who was Jackie from Roseanne, or is Jackie from Roseanne. In the Young Sheldon, the actress who's playing Sheldon's mother is the real life daughter of Laurie Metcalf.
Wow.
So that's actually kind of cool. I've never seen the show. I never intend on seeing the show, but Annie Potts is Meemaw, and I've got a thing for Annie Potts. I don't care how old she is.
A kid with a bow tie. Like that's the
actually, I was going to say the best thing that the Big Bang Theory gave us was Kaylee Cuoco.
Actually, that came from was it 8 Rules for Dating My Daughter, that John Ritter show that she was on with him until John Ritter passed away.
Yeah, but she's known for the bingo ball.
I know she's known for freaking that, right? And I'll tell you the most unrealistic thing about that show. How a part-time Cheesecake Factory employee could afford a single bedroom apartment in fucking Glendale.
Yeah, because she's a white.
She's a white? Is that what you said?
She's a white.
Dude, I lived in North Hollywood in a 2-bedroom, 1,200 square foot apartment was fucking like $1,400 a month.
I watched like one season of that show because I was really young before I got fed up with it, and I was like, this is terrible. Well,
anyway. So to go back to what the last thing one here is saying, because I think it is important. I agree with you. I don't think that I did think that, what he's trying to say, there's another line in there as well, which I think kind of backs up the point he's trying to make, is like he got into that argument with that gay guy at a bar in Colorado. And then the guy who was bigger than Dave, and Dave thought he was going to have to fight him or something. The guy called the cops on Dave, and Dave, the joke there was, all these guys are gay all these guys are a minority until they want to be white, or until they need to be white or something. And I think that's what he's referring to. It's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out sort of thing. And that's not the same experience that black people have. Like, again, the whole special.
What about gay black people?
Well, no. And again, that is something that is so wildly overlooked in that special. That is like, all right, man, like if you're going to talk about these experiences and your experiences, and you're going to make these comments here, there is that area, I believe, to look at. So, that's the whole point, is like, and I think comedy is meant to an extent to be dissected. I think,
of course, yeah.
I think the conversation surrounding this, because we've been talking about this like now for a couple nights.
But he doesn't seem like he's that happy with people trying to do that.
Yeah, I think it's like, I think there's definitely some deep rooted feelings there. But I also feel like there's the anger towards people on Twitter. I think a lot of it is on social media. I think a lot of it is the people on Twitter and the people who went after Daphne. Because I think, even though he didn't say it, I believe that he equates her death with being dragged by trans Twitter, is what I think he effectively believes. Yeah, I mean it's a whole fucking thing.
It's a lot.
It's
to
a
dive
giant
into.
can of worms.
It's and you know what? It's going to be an ongoing story. I doubt it's going to end here. He's probably going to say even more.
So
But we'll see.
now okay, Steve here makes a point. All right, I'd like to I appreciate this. Says you misrepresent Dave Chappelle's position on black folks' current station versus the LGBT community right now. The convo is cringe without the balance of an educated black man. Food for thought. Hey man, if you want to come on and give your take on it, 100% like to hear it.
Sure.
DM me on Twitter. I'll send you a link. Flat out, man. Flat out. Because that's the thing is I don't want. I'm trying to look at this from my only perspective, and try to give as nuanced as a take as I can. But again, you're right. I don't have that experience. I don't have that perspective. So that's why I wanted Anna on, because Anna identifies as LGBT, and I wanted to get her perspective on it, because that is trying to get that. And you're right. So hit me up on Twitter if you want to come on, and I'll definitely send you the link.
Hell yeah.
Because I think this is a conversation worth having.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, there's a couple super chats here I did miss out on. H-Bar is with $20, buddy. Holy shit. Thank you. It says, one good gesture using blackface was Al Johnson, the jazz singer. He wanted a black man in the movie, but due to it being in the 20s, he had to instead wear blackface, and he was a huge supporter of civil rights. I didn't know that.
That's the first time I've heard that story. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah. I'm not saying that that's not the case. But like, the thing is, it might have been a good gesture, but it's like, but that's not how people look at it. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's Al Jolston too, right?
You're getting a lot of support tonight, Jeremy.
Yeah, I appreciate that. People are fantastic. But I feel like, I can't speak to that, honest to God, because I don't know. But I mean, all I know is like nowadays that particular look is not met with anything less than, or anything more than disdain, really.
Yeah, of course. You're gonna have a hard time convincing anyone that it was ever used for anything good, ever. Like, it's gonna be an uphill battle to do that.
Yeah.
Interesting story, if that's true, though.
I mean, definitely there. All right, and then I see here we got McLeod here for $5. Thank you, buddy. It says a big problem with people that like Chappelle, Maher, and Brogan is that they don't know how to grow the F up, I'm assuming, and write new jokes and stop pining for the good old days. I think in some aspect, I think you have a point there, buddy. I really do. A lot of people like to, like, there's jokes I would like to say that I won't say. And it's not because and I won't say them because I don't know how to tell them in a way that's like, because I don't want to punch down on anybody. I don't like to punch down. That's why I make mostly like sexual jokes about myself, because the only thing I can beat is my meat. And, so, like, that's how I like to play it. But, it's difficult sometimes to like, to come up with that kind of humor all the time. And I think what it is a lot of this is just like a lot of these comedians, comedy makes you cynical as time goes on, because time plus tragedy equals comedy, right? So deal with enough tragedy, it makes you cynical. I think that's a big factor of it as well. But that's I don't know how you guys feel about that. But
no, I agree 100%. Like, that's just kind of something that comes with age too, is you get more cynical as time goes on.
Yeah, that's why they say people get more conservative.
Comedy is often used as a coping mechanism.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the whole thing with Dave too, is he's done that. But again, I don't want to speak out of turn, flat out. So if I'm checking my Twitter DMs, refreshing that shit. So if you want to come in, let me know. I will send you the link for that one there, buddy. And all right, hold on. Okay, yeah, all right, cool. So, and then we got Shogun Order here with $10, man. Thank you so much. Says, do you think all of this was about money? They knew what it was, but they knew it would get eyes on the special, kind of like Facebook not caring what the site does to people. A lot of it is about money. Yeah,
no, I believe that, honestly. I think that honestly kind of hits the nail on the head. I think a lot of the Twitter controversies that we see these days are manufactured by corporations. Not all of them, but a lot of them probably are.
Well, because they know at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter to them. It just doesn't matter to them. It's like people aren't going to stop shopping Amazon despite hating Jeff Bezos.
Where's the alternative?
Yeah, well, the alternative is like, ooh, I got to pay more money to go through this other. Nah. It's just like, oh, it's like, oh, I can go through Amazon or I can go through Walmart. Oh, gee. Oh God. Oh no. You know, like it's that. So I get it, but I think like, yeah, they're in it for money. They're in it to like get the popularity and shit. And I mean, they spent what, $250 million for 5 comedy specials for Chappelle. And one of them was literally just like 28 minutes of him ranting. No, this is like last summer. He did one about the whole George Floyd thing. It was a good special. I forget what it was called.
Yeah, no, it was a great special, actually. I really enjoyed that. It was short and sweet, but it was very impactful.
No, yeah, he's had some really good material. It's just, you know, like that, like I said earlier, like not every special is going to be goddamn fucking winner.
Yeah. So absolutely. All right. And okay. And then McLeod here, I did see you mention this there, buddy. I want to make sure we got it. Saying here, I honestly think this special will end up giving all the ammo and excuses for transphobic scumbags like Joe Rogan, who he calls Brogan, Shapiro, Crowder, and or Peterson need to push their turf garbage. Yeah. You are going to find things like that. That is going to be something that does absolutely happen.
Well, none of those people are turfs, but
no, they're going to sit there because I mean, you know, the question that becomes like, who do they have a bigger beef with? You know, Crowder and Peterson hate feminists. You know, Crowder.
No, conservatives don't like J.K. Rowling. They're not going to forget the fact that they made Hermione black. Like, they're not going to forget that shit. Like, they're not going to forget that shit. Do you know how much that pissed off fucking conservative people on the internet back when they originally did that?
Yeah, I remember.
A lot. You think they're just going to forget that shit?
Well, again, it's all about the enemy, and my enemy is my friend. It doesn't matter. It's all political theater. Like none of them actually give a shit.
Like J.K. Rowling has turned off people from every side of the political spectrum. I don't think anyone's going to come to her goddamn defense. I don't know why Dave Chappelle is.
I don't know. I mean, well, at the beginning of the special, he has said, I've come here to negotiate with the trans community to the LGBT community for the release of DaBaby. You know, and like, so, I mean, that kind of set the bar for things.
The bar.
It really, it's just, it is craziness. But yeah, anyway. Let's see. Kira here says, knock, knock, Matt Walsh is at your door. Merch Haley Wire staff. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's that. All right. And then, all right. Yeah. And here we go. Yeah. We talked about this. Netflix removed the Hassan Minaj episode about Saudi Arabia after the Saudis demanded it. So much for backing their comedian. Hey man, listen, it's yeah, you know, it's very much that whole notion. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And that ends up being, a big thing. So, all right. Jess here says, like I say all the time, Twitter has got to go. I agree. I mean, I should get the fuck off Twitter, but it's like, that's where news happens.
Yeah, you can't really avoid Twitter, you know?
Yeah. Simon here says Big Bang Theory nerd blackface. It's like a metaphorical term. It's not real. The idea is it's selling nerd culture from people who are putting it on because they don't actually fucking care. You know, like I was at Comic-Con. Let me explain this. I was at Comic-Con a number of years ago for the Big Bang Theory panel. I happened to be in the room for it. I fucking hated it. And the people are going up there and they're asking questions. You know how like the con people are, right? Someone asked like, could Magneto lift Thor's hammer? That was a question that was asked. Could Magneto lift Thor's hammer? And I thought it was an interesting question, right? And then the guy who plays Kumal, right? That guy, he just kind of leaned in. He's all like, dude, we're just actors on a show. Or something along the very, very fucking dismissive. And
right,
it was
it's
basically
it's like we really don't care about your question. It's
Yeah.
a stupid one. We don't care.
Yeah, and this is in Hall H. This is in the room with 6,500 fucking people. You know,
We're all nerds, by the way.
all nerds.
Show, yeah.
And the thing is, could Magneto lift Thor's hammer is actually a really interesting question. It's a super interesting question. And at that point, they was like, dude, we're just fucking actors. Now, I will say this.
They're actors.
Kaylee Cuoco, to her absolute credit, saw what was happening heard the response, and then immediately tried to go, well, okay, let's talk about this. Right? That's a good question.
She was trying to like save it a little bit.
She was trying to save face.
Answer your question.
Yeah, which is why I respect the hell out of Kaylee Cuoco. I do. I respect her for that.
She actually respects her fans, it looks like.
Yeah. You can tell that shit. Whereas, you know, the other actors, they don't fucking care. They're in it for the goddamn paycheck. That's what I'm talking about when I say that shit. Now, I know that James Earl Jones was on there. Regina Hall was also on there as well. And I loved Regina Hall. And I love James Earl Jones. But it really was like, it was the ideas metaphorically is my whole point of bringing that up. And I feel like it was done as just a way to sell a product. And, you know, I mean, look, the thing is, nerd culture now is like the dominant culture. It, you know, 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. Nowadays, it's the dominant culture. So it is what it is. You know, you're just gonna end up, you know, getting more things like this that are just made by people who are just trying to cash in on it rather than actually accurately represent. It is. It's how about this? How about this? Fine, I'll change. It's nerd exploitation.
Wait, I'm now I want to see that clip of like them being like, "Oh, we're just actors."
If you can find it, it would be.
Right.
I want to say it's Comic-Con 2015 is what I think it is.
I'm just curious with that story where it's like the crowd in Hall H like kind of like laughing a little bit at that.
I'm trying to remember. I don't really.
Awkward?
I mean, they might. It was a kind of awkward for a second, and it's rare for things to get. Super awkward in Hall H. I mean, the guy I was there when the guy got stabbed in the eye. You know?
Oh yeah, I remember you telling that story.
Yeah, and again, like somebody made a joke about it 20 minutes later for Kevin Smith's set. You know, and everything else. So it's like Hall H works in mysterious ways. But no, it was just again, but it was like they quickly moved on from it. But you can tell like these people never actually fucking cared. They actually never fucking cared. Jess here says, trust me, the average person does not know how bad nerds had it before 2000. I mean, I remember when, like, you know, having to hide my Pokemon, being a Pokemon fan, back in the day. Now it's everywhere. Today, I took my kid to Walmart tonight, and she's looking through the toys, the books, and she comes across, like, she's like, oh, aliens. She goes, aliens. And I'm like, aliens? What the fuck do you know about aliens? You're 3. And then we booted it. She goes and she grabs a Pokemon almanac. Right. And she's like, aliens. And I'm all like, okay, hold on here. Let's not get you into Pokemon just yet. All right. Let's wait a little bit.
No.
Let's wait a little bit so Daddy can.
Pokemon now.
She will. She likes to collect. All right. My daughter likes to collect things.
Is she going to turn into a Pokemon card scalper?
She's probably going to end up finding a couple neighborhood kids and bribing them with Cracker Jacks like I did when I was 17. It's probably going to happen. Yeah. It's probably going to happen. Like, what you got? You got the holographic Charizard? All right, take your filled boxes out the trunk of my car. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not even kidding. That actually happened. I'm not even kidding. Like, it sounds terrible. 20 some odd years later, 22 years later, but yeah, it actually happened. Anyway.
I can't find them saying that they're fucking actors. This sucks. Now I don't know if they're actors or not.
We'll have to find. You have to take my word for it. Now, McLeodder says, I don't think Dave realizes that trans people are very much being violently assaulted and killed in the streets by transphobes just as much as black people. I don't know the statistic. Looking at the base like breakdown demographically, I believe African Americans equate to 13% of the population. Trans folk,
I believe it's genuinely an incomparable issue.
Yeah. Like, I get what you're saying. I get it. I think
fruitless to compare the two, honestly.
Yeah, because I believe trans folk make up 0.04% of the population. It's not many. Out of 330 million people, it's really not that many. You know, so it's not like, you know, I think it's roughly around like the percentage of Canadians, the total population is that of the total population of African Americans.
Also, people being out
similar.
and honest with it is a relatively new phenomenon, whereas black people have been around for
you can't
a
really
long time.
you can't really hide that. You can't really hide that.
Like
stuff.
that's another huge difference I'd say as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's all. Let's move on to something that's going to be less controversial.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Maybe.
gay Superman. No, I'm
Oh
kidding.
man.
I'm kidding. Hold on here. H Bart's here. It says it's $5, saying here. When I was in elementary school, it was considered stupid to be a gamer. Yeah, I
He
mean,
used to be made fun of for wearing Spider-Man t-shirts on the playground.
yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. People always like to give me shit for that. Like I remember when the Ocarina of Time came out. We they didn't do midnight releases back then for games. So when Ocarina came out, like I literally I took the bus to school that morning, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go and get to the mall. So I took the bus to school, and then my friend David was there, and my friend David's like, "What you doing?" Because he saw me walking away. He's like, "Where you going?" I'm like, "Going to the mall." Why? I want to get there by 9 a.m. so I can go pick up my copy of Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Oh, okay. You want me to give you a ride? I'm like, sure, you're not staying? He's like, nah. So, because we had an open campus back in the 90s. We had freedom in school. And before they became shooting galleries. That's what it feels like these days. I mean, Christ,
it's pretty
man.
much like, pre-Columbine, post-Columbine.
Oh, I was a junior in high school when fucking Columbine happened. And the exact time it was happening, we were unaware of it because they weren't telling us. But at the exact moment in time it was happening, I was having a debate in my English class about how in school shootings there was always a low body count. That very fucking moment it was happening. And I went home not knowing anything. And my mom's watching TV. My mom is fucking horrified. She's crying. I'm like, what's going on? And I look on the TV and it just says 50 dead in a school shooting. I felt like shit. Like I didn't even go to school the next day. I skipped it. I just went for a walk. I just was like, I felt like not that I felt responsible, but it was like, here I am making this debate. Like there had really not been more than like 5 kids killed at that point. And then now it's like 50 or, there wasn't ultimately 50 casualties, but it was one of those things where it's like, you kind of go, oh shit.
Yeah,
that was
reality check.
That was reality check. Yeah, I was fucking like, holy shit. But anyway, so yeah, I went and got a ride over to the mall, picked up my copy of Ocarina, and then took the bus back to school. Walked into my study class, and everyone's like, "Oh, what you got there?" And I pull up my fucking, I think it was a Babbage's bag or something like that, maybe EB Games, I don't know. And I pull it out, and I got the gold cartridge, right, of Ocarina. And I sit down at my desk and I pull it out and I pull out the fucking game and I start reading the manual. And my friend's like, wait, what do you have there? I'm like, I got Ocarina of Time, man. Oh, you don't game? Pfft, loser. I didn't do that at all. But I did pull it out. I started reading it. I went home, played the fuck out of that game, dude. So, I mean, it was different. I mean, we had GoldenEye when I was in high school. All of us gamers, we all knew each other really fucking well.
That's awesome.
Anyway, let's see here. Drake here says Saggy Jarbo drinks unicorn blood to remain immortal.
Oh my god. Jarbo.
Saggy here says I heard Jarbo eats unicorn babies.
Oh my god.
Actually, Saggy does. She's projecting.
Did I miss some super chats, man? I'm trying to get.
I'm tired as fuck, man. I'm gonna catch.
All right, man. All right, yeah. Real quick though, what's your take on the Superman being bisexual?
Okay. Well, the biggest thing I have to say about this is that I hate the fact that they're putting in the headline Superman comes out as bisexual when this is his son, who he is Superman, but a bunch of people are coming out of this news story. And some headlines like this one are being responsible and putting John Kent in there. So good on them. But a lot of them are just putting Superman. So a bunch of people now just think that Clark Kent is bisexual, which is really fucking stupid.
Yeah, the misinformation's been very much out of control.
Yeah, I really don't like that shit.
It feels like that's been happening a lot.
It's almost like the media engage in stuff like this and perpetuate hatred and hate cliques.
Whoa.
100%. I've been saying that for the longest time, and it's 100%
maybe perhaps a lot of these people who get upset over stuff in the culture war should really take up their issues with the media instead of actually like, you know, the entertainment itself.
Yeah, instead of like working against each other, maybe we could direct our fucking, hatred towards the media that deserves it the most.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that, I'm gonna call it a fucking evening, everybody.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Anytime. Have a good evening. I'll always come on here. Happy to join you guys.
All right, thanks a lot, buddy. Have yourself a good one, man.
See ya. Bye.
Everyone go check out Underhaven and give Anna a listen and subscribe, definitely.
Thank you. Bye.
Heck yeah.
See ya. H-Bart's here. I did miss this one. Sorry. He says, honestly, I think Crowder is closeted gay or trans. I also believe that he is very much in the closet.
Yeah, I think you
There is no way to hate gay people that much while still enjoying dressing in drag and not be. Like, we're talking like Chronicles of Narnia level of repression. You know what I mean? Like it's back. And I think he'd be happier if he came out. And if he could be Ed Wood, where he's just like, he just likes to cross dress, but like, just admit it, you like to cross dress, just admit it, like admit your kink. Trust me, your audience isn't going to care. All right. So apparently the story contains spoiler plots for Superman.
So what's your take on this? Because I feel like me and you are gonna have differing viewpoints.
Well, the first thing that comes to my attention is, why does the J guy here, what's his name, Nakamura, look like Dawson with pink hair?
Why did you and Enosh said the same thing?
Oh, really?
Enosh said that in our group in the group chat. He's like, why does he look like Dawson?
Yeah, listen a little bit. Like, that was actually recommended to me. That wasn't my joke, but I didn't take it from Enosh. But look, I don't care. I don't care that the character is bi. It does. I mean, today is National Coming Out Day, so like that makes sense in regards to that announcement. But didn't they just like reveal that like Tim Drake was bi like last month?
Well, apparently it was last month, but it was in like a Elseworlds comic called Batman Urban Legends, where it's just one writer's interpretation of the character.
See,
So
this is the problem with fucking Elseworlds, man. Like, no one who's gonna read this shit knows what the fuck Elseworlds is. No one. No one's gonna know. This is the problem. I'm just gonna say it. Comic books, for all intents and purposes, are fucking dead. They're dead. Not that they're not selling, but they're culturally, they're dead. They're not moving the needle. All right. Where now everything is all about the spectacle of the movies. It's all.
No, I mean, there's been some evidence that some comic sales are rising, though. There is evidence that there is. I'm not saying it's great. I'm saying that there are some numbers pointing an upward trajectory.
But what comics though? Because all I see is this is like, this one gets canceled, that one gets canceled. I think they're having trouble. I think they're having trouble maintaining people. And now you've got the current editor-in-chief, Cebulski, who is
by
like,
the way, used to pretend to be an Asian man.
He did, and because Marvel had a rule against what was it, like basically outsourcing yourself or something?
Something like that. He basically used his way to get into the company.
Well, but here's the thing though. But at the time, well, no, he was already working at Marvel. He used it as a way to write other stories at Marvel, but under a pen name, and to get around a rule that no longer exists. However, he lived in Japan at the time and was really into Japanese culture at the time. So he was kind of LARPing as this character that he had built.
Still, weird.
It's definitely super weird, but like he admitted it when he got the job, and he admitted it to Marvel, and it came out, and Marvel was okay with it. Like apparently there was like a massive financial hit that he took as a result of that. Like he took a massive financial hit, but he owned up to it, and he talked to the company, and they found a way to make it work. And then now, you got Stephen DeKnight, who was the showrunner and creator of Spartacus, a show that I love. And he also was a showrunner on Daredevil Season 1, another show that I love. And I think Stephen's a nice guy. We actually chit-chat occasionally on Twitter. He answers questions, and he's very involved. And he's out there like effectively trying to fucking cancel this guy. Even though he says he's not trying to cancel this guy, he's trying to cancel this guy. And I'm like...
Well, many have tried before, to be fair.
Yeah, they're not going to get rid of it. And all it's going to do, coming after like this week though, with like everything else that's going on, it's just like all that shit does is create a divide. And I think in the case of Stephen DeKnight, I think he's doubling down for ego, out of ego. I really do. I think a lot of it's he's like, I'm not working with my Marvel editor anymore. He had a comic book line going on over, he had a run at Marvel. He's not doing that anymore. And I mean, good on him for for seeing something that he deemed as a problem and then stepping away from it. I don't view this thing with this character as as John Kent coming out as bi.
Well, what do you know about Jonathan Kent, by the way?
Nothing.
Okay, so here's something that people need to realize in context. This is very much a brand new character in DC Comics. Jonathan Kent was a child introduced in 2015 in, I believe, the storyline called Convergence. He was like a little kid, like 8 years old or something like that. Then there was an event where something happened to where he got stuck in time, and then he grew up while the rest of the world stayed basically in the present. So he comes back as an adult. Now he's the Superman of Earth, while Clark Kent Superman is dealing with Justice League stuff and like alien stuff off world. So that's basically the idea, and the idea is that he's trying to find his identity as a person and as a hero, and he's taking more inspiration from his mother, Lois Lane, some of the stuff that he's doing in the stories. It's really interesting. He's a brand new character, so this is not like changing some legacy character who's been around for like 30, 40 years, making them gay, right? This is a brand new character who they're still trying to define in the comics.
Okay.
So I think it's like a really big distinction, because I know some people are like, why don't they just make new gay characters? Well, this kind of is them doing that. So.
Yeah, no, and okay, that makes, again, like, I don't mind if the character's gay. I think it's kind of, Tom
Taylor's a really good writer. He's a really good writer, so.
Okay, I mean,
I trust Tom Taylor to handle this well.
I think it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, if it feels right for the character, like it's, that's fine, I guess. When it's one of those things where when it becomes like very ham-fisted, like a person that doesn't have the talent that they should have, like trying to tackle a subject matter like this.
Yeah. And by the way, like, they call him Superman for various reasons, but the book itself is called Superman, Son of Kal-El. So they distinguish the books by saying this is the story of the son of Kal-El.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like how Miles is called Spider-Man. You have two different Spider-Man running around. It's kind of like that.
But his run is also Ultimate Spider-Man, so there is kind of difference on that. But I've noticed though that with that Spidey and his friend show, they call, like, it's Peter, Gwen, and Miles, and they go Spidey, Gwen, and Miles. Like, they don't say, like, they don't differentiate between the two. But I will say this though as a side thing. So tonight my daughter was. Oh, by the way, so Steve had messaged me, and I have sent him a link to join. I do want to get his perspective on the Chappelle controversy, because I do think that is fascinating. So hopefully he will be able to join up in a minute, and we'll be able to get his take. However, so tonight, my daughter is like, she's like, oh, can I watch you play video games? Which we did last week when they had the Halo beta. She's watched me play Halo Infinite, and she really liked Halo Infinite. But
really?
my girlfriend was like,
a little too much.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. Like, cause it wasn't, I didn't think it was that bad, but all right, I get it. So I'm like, I'm looking through my Xbox, and I'm like, what do I have? I have like Dead by Daylight, fucking, like State of Decay, Dishonored, but I saw that they just put the Marvel Avengers game on there. And so I'm like, all right, I'll download it real quick. And so, I mean, thankfully, Microsoft consoles get insanely fast download speeds.
Yeah, much better than PlayStation.
Oh my God. It took me only 15 minutes to get the first 12 gigabytes of Avengers.
Yeah, that's really good.
And so I'm like, all right, I booted it up thinking we could go through the first little bit of the game. Well, because she watches that Spidey show, she immediately recognized Kamala Khan. And she, and we're, and Kamala is a big part of that game. And I think the voice actor,
really.
Yeah, I think the voice acting and character, I really like her in the first chapter of the game. And my daughter's like, oh, it's Miss Marvel, it's Miss Marvel. So, I mean, it's like kids will identify with it if they like it. So she'll recognize it across multiple mediums. So it's like,
oh, just wait till the show comes out.
Oh yeah, she's gonna have a lot of fun with the show. So, but that's the whole thing, is kind of like, it's, I forget the exact point I was trying to make. I just wanted to share the cute story about my kid, because my kid's amazing.
No, but I think that's a good point though, because it'll be interesting when this comic comes out how it's received, because the LGBT community is actually very positive about this.
Yeah.
Versus like Black Clark Kent, which got negative reactions, right?
Well, yeah, and hold that thought on that one too. Oh, real quick here, I just want to get to this one, and then we'll bring in Steven. I see him back there. After Columbine, it was Salem witch hunt for geeks in high school. I was brought to the office many times. Yeah,
Especially
I was.
in like stuff like Doom.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy in my high school who came to work every day in a business suit, fedora, trench coat, everything else. Like, we're talking beige. All right. And he ended up getting suspended for wearing a trench coat. Never mind the fact he wore a trench coat all the time, and he wore the business suit and had a briefcase, and he was totally normal. He just was a business kid all the time. And he actually, this was when we were a junior. So during his senior year, he said, fuck it. And he started dressing like a rocker with like studs and spikes and everything else. Not a problem. But he wore a trench coat one time, and that was enough to get him. All right. And let's bring in Steven here. How's it going, man?
All right, can you hear me?
Perfectly. Thank you for coming on, by the way. I'm really interested in your take. I don't want to speak out of bound. I can only give from my perspective, and I try to be nuanced, but I do appreciate other voices.
I appreciate you for having me, and I apologize if I'm not speedy. I was in bed and I was listening to the podcast here, and decided that I wanted to chime in.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. I'm very quick myself. Oh wait, hold on. I shouldn't probably say that. My girlfriend would agree. No, sorry. I'm horrible. I make terrible jokes. That's my whole point. I make terrible jokes. But yeah, so what's your take on what Dave was trying to say?
I was hoping you'd ask me more pointed, directed questions earlier, like
Oh,
you were doing
okay.
that, but I came in too late.
Well, yeah. So I'm sorry. I'm just because I thought you. Okay. So we can start off with like, okay, I can ask based upon your answer. How about that? Because I can kind of then gauge a conversation a little bit.
Okay,
we were talking about
representation part.
Okay, the representation part. That's a great place to start. So, what exactly did I say that you had an issue with, or you took umbrage with, or what did I get wrong? First and foremost,
The fact that Dave Chappelle was saying during the special that Black folks have a unique position in this country, that we were enslaved and brought here, and we've been fighting for freedom for 400 years, and we have taken every imaginable step possible for equality and justice in this country, and we are still being denied to this day. And so when he compares it to the LGBT community, they have made progress akin to the Flash, since we're talking nerd stuff here, about the amount of progress and the results they get from, by and large, the American population. So these people overwhelmingly agree that the LGBT community, they're disenfranchised and they need to be protected and acknowledged. That still to this day has not happened. If you've paying attention to the current events like the George Floyd Act, after last year's Summer of Upheaval, the largest protest in world history happened. How could the George Floyd protest not happen when we saw all the members of Congress put on kente cloths and take a knee out there on the steps of the Capitol for 8 minutes and 8 minutes plus?
Yeah.
And we get no results. So he said he's jealous and he's angry, and he has a right to be jealous and angry, because from the position we stand, we aren't getting justice and we aren't getting progress. Every time we open up our mouths and speak about injustices and atrocities happening to our communities, it seems there has to be a debate, a discussion, and some type of pontification on if it's even true or not. Does that? Yeah.
No, yeah. And I followed a lot of those kind of things for many years, and it really, you're absolutely right. And I've probably had fucking terrible takes over the years, from not fully understanding it. I, you know, I get that. Yeah, that's a very good point. I think my question then becomes, and I always like to think of it from the perspective of what can be done to move things forward. Because I agree with you about the pontification of it all, and I always feel like whenever there's a situation like, let's say George Floyd, where you have it on, like in Eric fucking Gardner, you have this shit on tape, right? Like you have this shit on tape, and
Yes.
and there's clear evidence of like, not a good idea. You know, a bad call, guys. Shouldn't have done that. But then people turn around and they, you know, the media like whips people up in a frenzy. And then, you know, you bring out all the talking heads, you bring out all the pundits, and then it just becomes noise, you know, and like nothing really of value ever really gets done right away, you know, and that ends up, I think, being the problem. Like the Floyd protests, they were fascinating to watch from an outsider perspective, especially because I'm from Portland, right? So like Portland was like the big draw, and you read all these reports of it, and it's just like it's you know, the politicians are talking out of both sides of their mouths, you know, and people are trying to push, you know, violence, right? Like, did you hear about the Boogaloo Boy in Minnesota who dressed as BLM and shot up a police station as a way to further stoke the fires of a civil war, of a race war?
Of course, plants.
You know, like, yeah, like, I mean, people like that they fucking exist, and like that shit gets downplayed by the right wing media because they want to push their narrative, and everyone has their narrative, and it just like after a while, when you look at all this stuff, you know, like what do you do? You know, like, I mean, I'm sure you ask yourself that. I mean, I can't even compare. I guess that's my question is like, what's your solution for any of this? Like, what can we do?
For real acknowledgement, what has happened today is people use social media and they use the internet and call themselves activists. And what Dave Chappelle pointed out, so what he didn't even point out, what he crafted with all of his specials leading up to this finale, is he loaded the bases where people couldn't even tell what he was doing, except people, you know, in the know with the third eye open. And he baked that perfect cake to show the hypocrisy within the community of social justice warriors. He started off his special by talking about Chinese people and essentially how they created and started the virus. You know, I don't want to say the word on your stream because it may get taken down, you know?
No, you can say COVID now. Like they've allowed, you can say it. And I don't make it, trust me, whatever I make on these streams comes in from donations. It ain't from AdSense.
Okay, the reason that was so poignant was because look at how brief and diminished our memories are. We just went through this season where the media, as you point out, made this huge uproar over Asian hate. And there was an immediate support of Stop Asian Hate because Black people all of a sudden lost their minds and were knocking out Asians across the country at an alarming rate. This was a completely false narrative, but it was built and it was latched on and supported, and they got legislation passed immediately. Biden passed legislation to punish people who committed crimes against Asians. There is no such legislation that punishes people for criminalizing and brutalizing Black people.
It's such a weird thing, you know, like I get it. There's the older I get, the more you see it, you know, like as we've mentioned earlier, like kind of like you kind of see a lot more the older you get and kind of are able to get a better idea of it.
Did you pick that up from the special though?
My vibe from the special was, yeah. And I think I mentioned it even earlier tonight that like, you know, he's made the comment about like organizing. And I think what he didn't say, and I mentioned it, was like the percentage breakdowns where you have African-American communities, like 13% of the population, trans communities, 0.04%, I believe. And it's,
the overall LGBT population is less than 4%.
Okay. Less than 4%. My mistake. Thank you for correcting me.
And they've made leaps and bounds progress as far as legislation, equality laws, actual laws put into place.
Yeah.
To take care of that group of disenfranchised people.
Sure. No, you're Sorry.
The big problem is that he was talking, his whole crux of the special was how white supremacy, the man at the top, is controlling everything, and he's manipulating specifically white women, because white women are always at the forefront. They're the most vocal about the LGBT community that get the results. The man sees this, and he's weaponized that community to turn against even black people. So he used the example of put up or shut up, right? He said,
Yeah.
I turned away $50 million because the Chappelle show, he was making fun of black people. He was making them look horrible. And he had a come to Jesus moment and said, this is wrong. And Comedy Central said, it's wrong, but for $50 million, we'll give you that for one more season. And he said, no. And so he's talking to everybody on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. He's like, all these people out here tweeting, but they've done nothing. They're not boots on the ground. They're essentially, like people on the 4th of July, all of a sudden you see them, they're super patriots, right?
Yeah.
But these people have never volunteered any service. They didn't join any of the 5 branches of the military. They probably haven't even joined the Cub Scouts. But all of a sudden they become super patriots. And the same thing happens when people see a disenfranchised community like the LGBT community. Anytime somebody hears something about them, they say that person hates them. And he said for years, for nearly 2 decades now, he's been fighting on behalf of them. And everything good he does, they still label him a transphobe or he's against gays. And it doesn't pass the common sense test. And he's trying to illustrate, he made the point about the Asians and the joke he made about pedophilia and the preacher early in the special. Do you remember that? Yeah. Everybody's looking past all these horrific realities that happen in life. And those people are also abused and disenfranchised, but nobody cares about them because the LGBT crowd has the crown right now. And for a horrible phrase, but unfortunately it's true, is it's turned into an oppression Olympics.
Well, now
and right now these people have the baton and they're in front. And anytime somebody stands up and says, hey, he's saying stop punching down on black people, my people, because I've been fighting for these people you're talking about that I hate probably longer than you've been alive. And I have the resources and things to prove it. And prior to me having the resources, I was still there doing it. And what's even more incredible is, like, he brought up the baby, and the baby did murder somebody in North Carolina. He claims self-defense, but we don't know. They didn't have enough evidence to prosecute him, so they had to drop the charges. But the greater point was white people don't do enough research about the baby, so they celebrated him until he said something. He talked about HIV and then, homosexual acts, and that made them lose their minds. And at the same time, he's saying that because nobody is doing any research on him. Dave Chappelle is from Washington, D.C. He's friends with Farrakhan. His favorite rappers are Black Thought, Mos Def, all these conscious thinkers in the black community who also believe that the number one thing destroying the black community is the destruction of the black family power structure. We don't have one. We have an over 80% single mother rate in our community.
And I think that also speaks to the larger fatherlessness problem in the country as well. Granted, predominantly in the African-American community. But again, it's been proven through studies, like just having a father there does a lot. Having the 2-parent system really does benefit kids. In fact, actually, when I had my 2 daughters, that's been something that I've had very much on the in the back of my mind that comes up pretty often. So I try to give extra attention to them in order to because I didn't have a dad really when I was growing up. So I was kind of I want to make sure I'm there for my kids. And I get that. Look, I definitely don't agree with a lot of what Farrakhan has said. I'll tell you that. But I get the idea here. It's it is a lot of it is okay. So did you ever see the movie PCU back in '93?
No, sir.
So it's basically stands for Politically Correct University. And, this is back in the early 90s when the PC movement was just getting started. It seems tame by comparison now, but at the end of that movie, they realized that the administration is trying to pit all the groups against each other. So it keeps them fighting it. So it's us versus us, not us versus them. And that is a lot of what I believe you were just saying as well. It's a lot of that mentality where the people at the top, they've got all the power and then they can kind of manipulate it to how they want. And they do this through various media narratives and they get people riled up on social media. People on Twitter can cancel entire lives when, there's like fewer than 400 million active users on Twitter. Facebook has got like 2 fucking billion, So it's just like, come on, look at like where the influence is, and never even mind YouTube. No one ever wants to talk about that, by the way, that like YouTube has more people or about as many people as Facebook active using it every single month. And it's the number 2 search engine in the world. And you're telling me that like, there's not a lot of fucking crazy ass radicalization that happens through fucking, it does.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's, I get what Dave's trying to say. And I like it. I want equality, but I agree with you about the oppression Olympics. Back during my anti-SJW days, that's a lot of what I talked about were people that were out there. There's I don't remember the exact context or the exact story, but there was a conference in like Irvine, California, where you had a bunch of minority-led groups coming in from different parts of the state. And you had your African Americans, you had your Latinos, you had the Asians, you had everybody. They come together. And it was meant to be this like conference where they were all going to like work on a project and present it to like a larger group of oppressed individuals. And the thing is that they couldn't agree on who was the more oppressed group. So it ultimately ended up just canceling the entire thing. And when I read that article, I chuckled because I'm like, yeah, this is exactly how it would be. Everybody wants to everyone wants to hold the baton, right? And I think that's kind of where, like we have issues, is because if everyone wants to be the one in the lead in this moment, then you're just going to have a king of the hill power struggle and nothing's ever going to get done.
That's absolutely true. And Dave Chappelle in his comedy special, he wove such an intricate web because let's be honest here, the LGBT community has, I'm going to speak for myself. That's what I'll speak for.
Okay.
They've ridden the coattails of the Black civil rights struggle up until just this week. Now they want to pull themselves apart and separate themselves and say, no, we can't compare our fight for equality and justice with Black people. So he should have never said X, Y, and Z. But for I'm 42, the last 42 years I've been alive, they've used those exact arguments of why they deserve justice, equality, and lack of oppression. So it becomes laughable. That was the cake he baked that was so amazing, to have to swallow that hard truth is that group of people has ridden our backs so hard for equality and justice that all they do is present images of gay Black men or trans Black women as their poster people. Like just recently, RuPaul got the Lifetime Achievement Award. Lil Nas X is on the covers of all these
RuPaul,
magazines.
RuPaul has been active for a long time.
Yeah,
That's my point. That's my point.
Oh, okay. So, you're saying
he's-
like Lil Nas X versus RuPaul is what you're trying to say?
What I'm saying is there's what we call this is like a chain of custody. They keep putting these images out there in the forefront. Where if I were to ask you, where are the white representatives, where are the Native American representatives, where are the Asians, where or just any other group of minority, you can't name them. You can't bring them to the forefront. Now, what Dave's talked about with equality and talking about, fighting for people, like let's use the medical issue, for example. There's generational wealth within the white community, and they have access to, if they don't have that, they have access to it by way of whiteness. Now, so when they decide to go through, say, a trans procedure, they have access to all the top medical procedures on the planet, starting from A to Z, going through their mental health evaluations, getting hormones, getting surgeries, getting follow-up surgeries, getting follow-up mental health. All these things the white community has access to. And what Dave Chappelle spoke on is the black people in that community don't have the access, and the people who parade them around aren't actually fighting for them to have it. They wait for them to die, and then they say, oh, 4 black people, 4 black trans women were murdered this week. We got to fight for Lashana, Tawana, and all these people. But no, you didn't know their name until they were dead. But you want to always throw their names out there like you knew them or you did something to advocate for them.
Yeah.
And
well,
that is the major problem that is, intelligent black people. We see this and it upsets us. And so that's why Dave is upset in that special. And he said as much himself. He said he was mad because I'm 6'3", 265 pounds. Now, if I identify as a woman and I put a wig on and lipstick and stuff, I'm going to be looked at crazy anywhere I go because as a black person, I don't have access to the same toolkit that all those other people do. And when they get access to it, it makes them less obvious. So what are the videos you see people getting outraged on the internet all the time? It's typically somebody who doesn't have access to that care, and somebody misidentifies them and, they blow a head gasket. And then all those people become outraged and they say, this person needs to be fired. Essentially, you're willing to ruin somebody's life behind a mistake because of poverty. And this goes back to the bigger picture of what he was saying in the special, is that's the power of white supremacy. They're pitting us against each other, like you said earlier, and you don't even know what you're doing. Stop doing that. Look at the bigger picture of what's really happening here. And so, but when it comes to black people specifically, now you're making it a war between the heterosexuals, a black community, and us being, what do they call us? Basically, like we're not accepting. There's a narrative out there that the black community is not accepting of the homosexual community. But I'm not here to litigate history because we know people have existed throughout time that have identified as such. That is there.
And yeah, there's been a person in the comment section bringing that up as well, saying that, that gays, lesbians have existed, for thousands of years. And they've been persecuted as well in different cultures. I mean, that is true. Even what is it, Nigeria? If you're a lesbian, and it comes out, you'll get basically gang assaulted by a group of men that are trying to kind of, get it out of you, and I have a feeling it has a lot to do with just religion, if I'm being honest. But yeah, it's such a tough conversation because I think now that we're so socially aware of it, or we're socially aware more so now than ever before. The problem though is that, how many people utilize this for financial gain and don't actually want to see the needle move in any significant way? And that's kind of where I look at it too. It's like the people in charge, and I mean this generally, like the media companies are the ones I think when I think of this, because they're the ones that control a lot of the narratives. And no, I'm not claiming it's, so I'm sure someone's like, oh, you mean the Jews? I don't mean the Jews. I just mean in general, because it doesn't matter what your background is. If you run a media company, you're looking to push a certain agenda. That's just kind of how it always goes. But then you have your pundits who make a living off of all this stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like, and they're the ones that I wonder, how many times they just do it for cash. Okay, cause I'm trying to keep it on entertainment. Have you ever seen Black Mirror?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember the episode in season 1 where they were riding for their lives on the bike? And
okay, you've gone too far back.
Okay. There's RJ, do you remember the episode I'm talking about here?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like there's basically it's like people have to like they have to ride bikes to generate electricity. That's like what they do. But there's like all of this really voyeuristic entertainment, things like American Idol and like smut and all this kind of shit. And the main guy falls for this girl who ends up wanting to raise enough credits in order to try to win this American Idol or in order to get free. And she ends up kind of losing out, but she takes the way out of getting basically becoming like a prostitute, going into porn. And so then he works his way up to go and fight for her. Like he wants to go out there and kind of break the conditioning, if to paraphrase Alex Jones here a little bit. And he gives this impassioned speech, and he puts this knife to like this broken piece of glass to his neck. And it's so compelling that they offer him a gig where every week he broadcasts that message of oppression as a rallying cry to the audience, to the people watching. But it's all bullshit. He lives in a nice, fancy apartment. He just does it because that's what he's paid to do. You know, and like I'm wondering how much of those pundits that we see that go out there and they always, you know, go on Fox and CNN and MSNBC, how many of them are just paid to say the talking points of the company? And a
That's
lot
why
of them
they
are.
call them TV actors and not TV anchors.
Yeah. It's such a weird thing. This is, you know.
I agree, and just anecdotally, I'm retired from the military. In my last 10 years, I was an Army recruiter. I was a career recruiter, and it's just interesting to me. Like, I had to turn away, let's just say across 10 years, hundreds of applicants, right? Because they were medically disqualified. You only had to have 3 criteria met to join any branch of the armed forces. You need to be mentally, physically, and morally qualified. Now, if you were a kid and you broke your leg and you have a rod and a bolt, you can't join. If you took any mind-altering medications like Adderall or something like that, you cannot join. You're medically disqualified. All of these things across my career, I turned away people left and right. And in my profession, everybody else had to do the same. Now, as soon as this fight started for LGBT rights and got passed, now you can join with those surgeries already performed, no problem. And these are the most invasive, transformative surgeries, known to man. And it's A-okay. So now you have a community of people that were willing to serve and were turned away for the smallest of things. And there's a resentment there.
I get
what
what
I'm putting down.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
And anecdotally, in that situation, just apply that to the bigger picture of how fast the things have changed for these people. And Black people, all in all, as a whole, cannot get any semblance of the same thing, even though we are the most organized, we have the most so-called support, which I call it faux support, in the world. And I've worked for the Democratic Party here in Michigan, where I live, and I constantly tell my fellow members and people in the community, if you really want to change, all you have to do is stop going to work. Tell your employer, I am not going to go to work until Black people have equal rights and equal pay in this job. They won't do it because that's too much skin in the game. So that's why, Facebook, Twitter, social media as a whole is so safe. People can launch all their support on social media, which actually results in, nothing but photo ops and turnouts at these marches. Now, if all those people had hit the man in the pocket, Black people could have gotten their rights. We could have gotten reparations. We could have gotten everything we've been demanding since the inception of this country, but nobody is willing to do it. And so part of, you're talking about entertainment, that is what Dave Chappelle is illustrating in his comedy special. I walked away from 50 million, and I was also doing this. I was in the streets when I was poor. What have you done other than send angry tweets asking to ruin people's lives?
Yeah, no, and that's a fair point because I think that's something that like a lot of us have criticized. Like because I'm pretty progressive politically, and you know I still get frustrated with elements of the far left. I'm like, come on. But I always like I like to ask generally. I mean, I understand your position, and I'm trying to think of ways to be like, to kind of ask critical questions. So it's not just like because I like to have the conversation. What do you think though is the best course of action so that everyone can get what they want? I mean, because that's kind of where things are now. It's like I understand again as a white dude, there's not a lot that in this subject that I'm going to fully have understanding of. But it's like as an outsider, let's put it from that perspective. It's like what I see is I see a bunch of different groups, all marginalized in different ways, all wanting roughly the same thing, and then there being a lack of cohesion amongst everybody to kind of maybe fight. But you're right, though. You're right, and about it's not going to work. By the way, you know what I mean? Like right now, and this is probably one of the only good things about COVID, and I using that air quotes, is that it's kind of shined a light on the on labor. And it's kind of brought about a very interesting labor movement of people that are just tired of working for shit. And
Yes.
while they're the owners of the company get richer and richer and richer while they stagnate, or in many instances the middle class has been declining, so they slip back into that poverty territory, and so it doesn't really raise all ships. And so there's a lot of that we're seeing right now. Is there any way in your mind that we can find a way to truly come together? Because that's going to be the only way, I think, for people to actually see this thing through to an ending that actually has a decent one.
It's the layman's and short answer is to acknowledge that everything you've done is not working. You're part of the problem. Stop and give us the wheel to your car. That's the simplest way I can put it. So if you want diversity, equity, and inclusion in everything, the problem is you can't ask your oppressor for his answer
Yeah.
to your freedom. And so going about that is just the wrong answer. And that's what so many in the Black community have tried to do. Hence what I mentioned about white feminists always being the speakers for essentially everything. Any award show you look at, anything in media, there's a white woman out there speaking about the disenfranchisement of Black people. Now, but that the white community, the dominant society does not want to do that. And the thing is, like you mentioned, everybody wants the same thing. How do we get to that result? Well, the answer is look at who is getting the results. So let's shift back to the LGBT community. They are getting results. Why? It's because people have bought into their pain, their oppression, and their suffering. For some reason, they can empathize with that movement. But when it comes to the Black movement, they just can't do it. They cannot buy in enough to say, I'm not going to go to work, or I'm not going to go back to work unless this happens. Because then they'd have to put their money where their mouth is. And the reality is they don't want to go that far. And that's where the anger and everything else comes in. We're like, well, okay, you really don't want this. And that's the bottom line is, you were all good up until, well, you don't want me to go to work. Will you agree that my people are dying and being slaughtered by police, by, skyrocketing numbers? You see that we don't have jobs. Our homeless is way higher. We don't have health care. We live in food deserts. All they do is import alcohol into our community. We can't get money from businesses if we wanted to bring in healthy food. So we get fed Doritos and Twizzlers and 40 ounces of Old English and liquor and weed. We have access to all these things to keep ourselves poisoned and hurt. But nobody wants to be the medic and come in our community and say, this is what you need to heal yourself, even though they know the answer to heal us. So that's just a hard truth that the dominant society, white people, will not accept. It's a bridge too far. So you said you were, I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Sure.
But the majority of people have not crossed that bridge. And what I do when I'm in face to face with people that come and they say, I'm going to be part of the answer. When I break it down to them like that, my monthly meetings, they stop. They're like, I can't do that. But they'll talk to me behind the scenes and say, I'm risking too much if I do that. And that is the overwhelming sentiment, is they know that they will lose out on something if they support the Black community as much as they did another community.
I honestly, I don't know. That's like the truest answer I can give. Like, I see your point. I'd like to think
it's not hard to.
No, it's not. I think
it's not hard to rationalize. If you just look at, we came in this country, in 1619.
Yeah.
On the first slave ships, we founded this country. I lived in DC. My people built those buildings. We built this country, and we have no compensation. We get no recognition at all. And all we get is we got Juneteenth. What is Juneteenth doing for my people? It is for us to spend money in white businesses.
Yeah,
we have nothing. So all we get, like I said, is photo ops. So, Mr. Jarbo, I know you understand this.
No, I do. It's
even a bridge. It's even a bridge too far for you to acknowledge on this stream.
Well, no,
it doesn't make you a bad person because, and it's like I tell everyone else that I'm trying to, because an ally, it's a laughable term in the Black community. That's the reality of it. It's because they're not really willing to go that distance with us.
I think it's if I'm speaking candidly, I think it's difficult for white people to go the distance, if I'm being honest. And I say that not because it's impossible. I say it because it's fucking confusing at times. You know what I mean? Because it's like, we want to help. A lot of us want to help, but we are also confused on how to do it because there is it gets presented in many ways, like, because we don't live that experience. That's the fucking truth of it. Like, I'm a middle-class white guy. I don't live that experience. I live literally in the forest, like I'm far removed from those struggles. So it's like seeing it on a day-to-day basis is difficult to fully comprehend.
But you benefit from the privileges of being white.
Yeah, I do.
Every day.
I absolutely do. You know what I mean?
If you can acknowledge that, and you can see a group of people that is getting no privilege in life, even though the people who built this country are providing you with your privilege. I can't speak for you, but if I were in a different person's shoes, that would not sit well with me.
It doesn't sit well. No, it doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't. Like, I'm not saying I'm not saying that I am apathetic, nor am I complacent. It really boils down to, again, the concept of like, it's kind of like when it's overwhelming at times because there's a lot that's going on with it, like everything. Like, I mean, the reality of it is, like, a lot of it is really just getting a lot of these fucking politicians out of office. That's a lot of it is the ones that are very much working for the corporations. Those guys are a lot of the problem. And then also it is the community organizing, but I think it's like getting rid of systemic racism is a massive problem. And it's like, fuck, dude, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good answer because I think of myself as a logical individual, but I don't know.
You're illustrating my point, Mr. Jarbo, is that you do know the answer. And it's a tough pill to swallow. And that's what I've presented from the beginning. I'm asking a lot from people who call themselves white allies. You said you don't know enough. You're not a part of the community. You have access to all the same information as everybody else does, though.
Yeah.
That's why Dave Chappelle painted that. He painted everybody into a corner that they can't get out of. Is everybody knows the ins and outs of the LGBT community, but like you're illustrating tonight, you're saying you don't know the ins and outs of the Black struggle, even though it's everywhere you look.
Well, I don't want to say I don't know the ins and outs. Like, I think the problem is, like, I want to find the right way to say I know, and but I don't understand. Does that make sense? You know, because I don't want to use the term I understand, because it's like a blanket term to say that, like, I get it. Because it almost comes across as like, what's the word I want to use here? Like, I don't want to say like apathetic, but it comes across like dismissive. And I'm legitimately wanting to listen. Like, I'm legitimately listening. So it is kind of that whole, you know, that's where I'm coming at it from. And I don't know how RJ feels. Actually, we have a friend of our Saggy. I don't know if you've seen Saggy before. She wants to come on in and say hi. She's been simping on you pretty hard in the chat.
Okay.
This ought to be interesting.
I'm always here for simps.
Well, no, I was like loving everything you were saying about the Dave Chappelle thing, and then I was listening back to everything, and I was just like, oh, this is getting a little deeper than I anticipated.
Well, it's a very serious conversation, and he extended the invitation, and I think I said it in the chat. I don't want to be the one to sink the ship, but these are hard truths that need to be acknowledged.
No, I'm not against it. I'm not against it.
Right, but the thing, like, it's nice to hear, because I do streams and stuff, and I do have a lot of people. I would say I have more people who are not African American or people of color. You know, I do have a people online that I'm friends with, but it's nice to be on panels with other people of color that can talk about these issues. It's not always just me, right? Because I always feel like kind of like the minority when it comes to talk about these things. But I hear what you're saying, and like I said, as a Black woman, I feel like the issue too is like there are a lot of people who want to be allies to our issues that we face, you know, today, as well as, and I'm also not just a Black woman, but I'm also part of the LGBTQ community because I'm pansexual. So I relate to both sides of the spectrum here. I do feel like though when we were talking about, you know, like putting Jarbo on the spot, like it's hard for, I feel like, and I know this is a hot take, but I feel like for white people, there are white people who want to be allies, but they speak for us, which is something I get very annoyed about, because not every person of color thinks the same or have the same opinions about the issues that we have. But I also feel like when it comes to like a white person trying to disagree with a Black person, they'll be perceived as labeled as, oh, you're a racist. If you don't agree with me on my take on this, then you're racist. And I think that also that doesn't help the cause either. It causes a stigma. And I see it all the time. I've been called a racist by people of color, my own people, because I've disagreed with their takes on things. So it's like, if they can do that to me, and I'm sitting here like looking at them sideways, like I can understand why, you know, it's hard. It's hard because there are some of us who are like, yes, we want allies. We want people to understand us and see where we're coming from. But then there'll be you know, like you said earlier, which I was praising you for, some people, you know, like Dave was saying, Black people out there just doing the opposite for us, you know, and that doesn't help anyone. And if we really want to unite, we have to have conversations. We have to have these tough conversations and become more unified than just being divided and accusing each other of being thugs or racist or gangbangers or white people or crack addicts and other things like that. Just it's the stigma. It's a problem with culture. We're too busy focused on the differences instead of coming together united, if that makes sense.
It does. And I agree. The most disrespected person on the planet is the Black woman. And it's so easy to dismiss the Black woman in our community because, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do that on the street. I apologize.
Oh,
it's all good.
It's okay. Jarbo farts on the street. No, I'm just kidding.
I did not mean to put Mr. Jarbo on the spot. I thought I refrained myself. But the thing is, myself and what Dave Chappelle is saying is, you do know the answer. You see the problems. You know the solution to the problem. You're just not willing to take the steps that are needed to enact the change for that community to, you know, in the eyes of the law, you know, to make somebody whole. And we've been, you know, labeled through the Constitution 3/5 of a human being for property and taxes purposes. So we need to be made whole. And so when I talk about generational wealth in the 400 years and everything that people have benefited, everything that white people have benefited from in this country is off of the backs of Black people. And if they just started there and then worked their way backwards and educate themselves, they may have like an oh shit moment, a come to Jesus moment, and say, you know what? Yeah, I do need to shut up. I do need to listen. I do need to give them access to my platforms, my vehicles, all these things in order for us to get our message out, because we know what we need better than the people looking in. And that's what we want. But the power structure, they don't want to give that to us. And it's just obvious. Like I said, this piece of legislation that didn't get past the George Floyd Act didn't get passed when we had the summer of upheaval. Worldwide, people said the blacks in the United States are being constantly traumatized, persecuted, terminated, ignored, subjugated. But I got to go to work. Ouch. So when we see that, when us activists that are on the ground, that hurts us. But we don't get angry and spew things. We don't attack the community. We like I was talking about in the black community, and historically, of course, gay and trans people and queer and everybody else has always existed. We want those people in our community. But the thing is, we have to acknowledge that we are a whole. We want to fix our structure first, because if we don't have a foundation, we can't do anything. And so the media, the white-led media, keeps launching these narratives against Dave Chappelle. And just look at the key words, their talking points. Obsessed. He's obsessive. Why won't he let go? It's an endless feeding loop. All he's doing is empowering the alt-right. So he's doing this. No, that's not what he's doing. He's illustrating how you are hypocritical. He wants the same things for our community as theirs. But their community is just fine. Like I said, you don't have a problem in the white, gay, trans community. All this that is happening, they're not saying that they're being targeted and they're being executed, and all these things are happening to them because, like I said, they have access to generational wealth and they have access to healthcare, all these different things that we do not have. And it's like the difference between like a homeless black person and a homeless white person, like the great philosopher D.L. Hughley said, is he can grab a white homeless person off the street and all he has to do is give him a shower, give him a haircut, and put him in a business suit, and he can be your next Fortune 5 CEO. You can't do that to a black person. And once you understand that, you know that there is a systemic failure on a surface scale that community does not face. Me, every day as a black man, and I stay in a small town in Jackson, Michigan. Every day I wake up and brush my teeth. I have to look in the mirror. A black man looks back at me. When I get in my car, I have to think, do I have my insurance, my registration, my license? Is everything on the up and up with my car, maintenance wise, tail lights, blinkers, all this, so I can navigate.
Oh, we lost him for a second.
No, this is such a good combo. No, well, when he comes back, I will say, hopefully he hears this, but I was just gonna say, listening to him talk about the racial issues and the difference between the LGBTQ community and the struggles of minorities. Well, I think the big difference is like anyone, doesn't matter what color you are, you can be gay or transgender. Doesn't matter what your cultural background is, you can be that, right? Black woman, pansexual, but there are a lot of so being gay isn't a limit to your race. It is just who you are, and that is like, it is similar to racial issues, yes. But I think when he was saying about the black people, being wanting the LGBTQ community to be allies to us as well, I can honestly say maybe in some of us do, but I grew up in a household very religious, and a lot of black people, I can say, grew up in a religious household. All our family, we're for the most part Christian or Catholic, and because of religion, that pretty much said being gay was a sin. that caused a lot of people in the African community to look at homosexuality as nothing but that, a sin, and an abomination. So I would say it's taken a lot of us in general as a nation to really get up to speed with, like, people are people, maybe just love everybody, don't judge, whatever. We've come a long way for that. But when you say, well, black people want LGBTQ, there's still a lot of people, and it has nothing to do with them being black or anything either. It's just not everybody agrees and is accepting of homosexuality. So some of us would probably we should be supporting each other. African American people should be supporting people of LGBT because we have a similar struggle. We weren't accepted for who we are, and the reality is, everybody still judges everybody, and everyone has their beliefs. And again, our beliefs aren't really determined by the way we look. It's usually determined by the way we were raised or our ignorance. So I do agree that I think, like I said, it would be nice to have everyone get on the same page and be on board with each other's struggles. However, we do not live in a perfect world, and it's sad. Maybe someday we will get there, but I don't see it happening anytime soon because every like I said many times before, and I know this might, and I'm not trying to get political, but I do always feel like the government is trying to keep everybody divided. They bank on our division because the last thing they want is a unified nation where we can basically look at them and be like, okay, now we're all together on the same page. Can you guys fix what's going on with this country? Can we get some things happening? Can we get benefits for everybody and everybody can be happy? Can you make us happy? Because we're all unified.
I have a feeling that's going to happen, like when Stacey Abrams becomes president.
And that's too late. I mean,
no, you're right. You're right. You're definitely right. I'm just like, I mean, I'm trying to think of like, because I like Stacey Abrams quite a bit. So I'm very hopeful for her political career.
I'm sorry, I got booted earlier. Comcast decided to do their maintenance right now.
Oh, and, yeah. I have Xfinity, so I understand that pain.
Where did you last hear me speaking?
Something about a guy in a suit.
Oh, I was talking about the great philosopher Bill Maher and how the power structure, how I see, because I made the mistake of looking over at my phone. I'm talking to you on my iPad. Somebody was talking about the fallacy of essentially people benefiting off of slavery and us being recognized and compensated for the work done prior. Well, the thing is, I would say to that person, then we need to do away with trust funds. We need to do away with wills. We need to do away with everything else to have people start at ground zero every single time they're born. And my guess is those people would not like that. So when you look at it just as a simple thing like that, and you look how many decades you've had of built up privilege, that's where that comes from. So back to the suit thing, I was saying that the great philosopher D.L. Hughley said, what he illustrated about the power structure against the difference between white privilege and black people not having privilege is, he said he could grab a homeless black person and a homeless white person off the street. And he said, if he took the white person, all he has to do is give them a haircut, a shower, and put them in a suit. And that person can be the CEO of the next Fortune 500 company. But you cannot do the same with a black person.
I mean, I don't think he's wrong.
That is 100% true. It's one of those truth bombs where no matter how you slice it, we can look and see all these countless stories of how, whites have come back from drugs, they've come back from poverty, they've come back from abuse, all these other types of oppressive factors, but there's a safety net built in for them to bounce back. We don't even get a bounce. We are essentially imprisoned within ghettos and red line communities.
Yeah.
Where we don't have access to anything outside of what they bring into us, and what they bring into us is constant poison.
I actually, back in 2012, I was working with the LA Unified School District, and they sent me down to Watts for a day. And like it was, I took the train down, and on one side was Compton, on the other side was Watts, and you could tell which sound had more money in it. Compton had like neon buildings and palm trees and well manicured lawns, from what I could see. And then you look across the street at Watts, and it looked like a fucking war zone. And then I went into the school, and like, I was like the only white guy in there. And the principal was like, "Oh, where'd you park your car?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I took the train and I walked here." And she's like, "Are you fucking stupid? You're going to get shot." I mean, and like they're putting that kind of fear in me for just being a white dude walking through Watts, by myself at 8 o'clock in the morning. But you mentioned the poison and the food desert and everything, and that is a major problem for a lot of these inner cities. Where I went to a shop across the street from the school just to get lunch. Their coolers didn't work. All they had was Arizona iced tea, and it was just snacks. Everything was in a bag. Nothing was fresh. No AC because it was like the middle of summer. And it was like, I remember it pretty well. It's like, man, like this is, because again, I've never really seen anything like that before. So it was really eye opening to like just kind of how bad these communities can get. And yeah, like that's the kind of stuff that needs to be really looked at. Start
And
from
as allies, what we ask you as Black people, we say, tell your employer you're not going to come to work until X, Y, and Z happens for Black people. And Ms. Mellons, when you talked about, one of my stuff connected back is you were talking about how in religion, they teach you certain things. So there are these different divides within our own community. Mm-hmm. Those are 100% true.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we can agree on the fundamentals on what needs to change to make us all whole and to advance us all as a people first, because you have to have a foundation. The problem is, like what they're doing to Dave Chappelle, they're trying to destroy the foundation, but he's telling them, you can't do that to me. And the hypocrisy also goes into Dave Chappelle had countless skits that would not be able to be played if those were brand new episodes today. They wouldn't pass.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle show has all
so
of them.
The same people who enrich Dave Chappelle are now saying we want to cancel you. And that's the most hilarious thing about, not the most hilarious, but what's just makes this even more funny and laughable about how he painted them into a corner was they built him. They built him up. The Black audience, we can't do that alone. That took white dollars to build him to the level he is. And now they're saying, no. Now you've gone too far. We don't want you to have what you have. So look how racist in itself that is. We want you canceled. Pull your Netflix special. We don't want you to be able to earn a living. We want to make your livelihood dangerous, uncomfortable, all these things. And the thing is, when it comes to religion, people came to this country, so to speak, for religious freedom without persecution. But now the same communities that want to not be persecuted and all that, they'll say that all of that is imaginary and doesn't exist. But they'll tell you to accept, hand of mouth, that if you transition, that now you must address me as such. And we give you that recognition. But if we make a mistake, you deserve to be canceled. And he has the power to say, no, I'm not making a mistake. I'm talking from history because I've done what you have not. Shut up. And it's amazing. So any argument I hear about Dave Chappelle in these specials is, one, they're just not critical thinkers and they don't know the history. They don't know their own history. They don't know Black history. And they don't know comedic history, because we have people now that all of a sudden are critics and they say, oh, what he was saying wasn't funny. These jokes are 10 or 15 years old. Oh, it's lazy. It's this and that. And it's like, oh, it's lazy? How did he get to that point? No, because you thought he was a genius. No, Dave Chappelle is a genius. Right. And he used your own tools and showed you your true face. And what it is ugly, because you're a liar. You've been lying to yourself and you've lied to everybody that you say you're a supporter of. And it's beautiful.
Right. But well, here's the thing too, Stephen. I'm just gonna kind of bounce this off you just to get your take. But I also feel like the problem too lies with black people don't really know their own history sometimes. And I feel like sometimes they sometimes choose when to be mad, just like everybody else, and I see it all the time. Some of them, you see when there's when George Floyd happened, or when situations like that happen, they're mad, they're angry, we're getting killed out here. The moment that calms down, no, they peace out. They're done. They move on. And I think what it is, like I said, the problem I always see, especially within the Black community, is not just about the people outside. It's also the people in. The people who only stand up when the media is talking about it. And the thing is, people forget that these people who are getting killed by the cops have families who, after the protests and stuff, they're still mourning. Okay, they're still mourning the loss of their loved one, while everyone propped up, got outside with their signs, marching and stuff. But after that, it's done, it's over with. And I think that's also a problem. That's why I say, we also need to look at our own people and be like, y'all ain't helping us either. Because sometimes I do feel like that. As a Black woman, I sit there and like, y'all ain't helping us either. Y'all ain't doing us no favors. And there's a difference. The way you're approaching it, you're having a discussion, right? You're educating. Now, a lot of Black people, they don't want to educate. They demand. They want white people to answer for the sins of their fathers. And it's like, that's to me, that's not the way. That's not the way we fix the world. That's not the way we end racism. That's not the way we end difference. We do it by educating, trying to reason and find empathy, and understand that people can just be ignorant, and we have to be the change as well. We have to be that change. So that's why, like I said, I want your take on that. How do you feel about that?
I appreciate you for bouncing that off of me, because those are red herrings that the power structure, white supremacy, a weapon they formed against us. It's essentially the "but what about Chicago" argument. The thing is, Black people, they never stop caring. They never stop being mad, because our experience never stops. I think I got cut off, but I was mentioning how I stay in a small town, and every morning I wake up and brush my teeth, I look at a Black man staring back at me, and I have to make sure that I have my insurance, my registration. I don't have any taillights out. My blinkers work. Everything is on the up and up, so I don't get stopped by police and become a statistic. When I'm walking through public, I'm 6'3", 265. I don't want to touch anybody. I don't want to bump anyone, because if they call the police, you're calling an execution squad on me. These things don't go away. So Black people never stop caring, because they are Black by their birth and existence. It is an undeniable reality. And I was trying to tie that point in earlier when I got cut off, was to the person who tweeted about Netflix, said that now they have to, because of Dave Chappelle, they had to worry about walking outside and being murdered as a white trans woman. No, you didn't have to worry about that after Dave Chappelle. If that was a real thing, then you would have had to worry about that the day of. You would have had to worry about the day prior, the week prior, the year prior. Do you see how these things don't add up? And these are the false equivalencies that Dave so beautifully illustrated, that they don't jive. These people are being disingenuous. And so when they say they support us, the reality is they don't. Because now that community is in such an uproar, it's trending every day. It's on the news every time I turn around. I moonlight in a comic shop, and people come in and they're talking about the special, and they've not even seen it, and they want to get rid of Dave Chappelle. So the messaging is working. It's out there and it's working.
Yeah, that's a good
But
point.
will it?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm saying, will it push Netflix to actually do anything? Probably not.
No, hell no. They would never. They stand by their.
Yeah, they're doing well. But here's the thing, guys. We've been on for about 2.5 hours. I actually have to get to bed. It's almost 1 a.m.
Well, great talk.
I do have an early call with my kids, which apparently was called into question. Very odd. But yeah, so no, Stephen, I really appreciate you coming on, man. This is a good conversation. I think as always, a lot needs to be done, and I hope one day we'll all collectively be able to get there. It's a tough pill to swallow. It's a tough reality to face. I just I do appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you for welcoming me onto your platform, into your home, and Thank you to all your listeners, your supporters, and I'll continue to tune in the future. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you very much, man. Well, this conversation will definitely arise again. So, feel free to hit me up and just go, Matt, the fuck.
I loved it. I loved it, Steven. You have a beautiful brain.
He was all like, I'm in bed, I gotta do shit. And then she hits me up. She's like, yo, who's this king? So,
Well, I appreciate your support.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan.
Anyway, thank you very much for coming on. I see that I missed super chats, Matt. I'm gonna get to them here in a second.
Okay, I just hit the hang up. That's how I do this.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all I have to do, man.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again, buddy. Get some sleep.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
You too. Do I have to go too?
No. Well, I mean, I'm leaving. I'm going to be ending in a minute, but I gotta answer some super chats. So, look, before we dive into that, really, I understand like this conversation tonight has gone a very different way than I intended, but I'm glad to have it. That's the whole thing. Whether or not I agreed with everything Steven said, which I didn't, but I wanted to give an opportunity for a person to speak on a subject that we were talking about from a perspective that I will never be able to approach from a lived experience. And I think that is part of the conversation. I saw people agreeing with him. I saw people disagreeing with him. That is called discourse. And that is our civic duty, I believe. So I'm thankful for that. And you as well, Saggy and Anna and RJ, everyone with their different perspectives 100%, because we have to have those. And I also don't like echo chambers. I like to fight. So, but not over this subject.
No, let's fight.
What are we going to fight over? We're kind of in agreement on it here. It's like, hey, stop being racist, you fucking crackers. All right.
I love you.
Fuck. You saltine looking fucking Triscuit eating bitches.
Wait.
See, I can say it. I can say it. That's my word, Saggy. All right.
Whoa, I like crackers though. They're delicious.
You kidding me? Have you ever had chicken and a biscuit? Oh my fucking God. Those are so good.
Dude, cheese and crackers are my shit.
I'm just saying, yeah, I eat a lot of cheese. Probably why I have man titties. But all right. So anyway, let me get to a couple of the supers here. The ones I can get to right off the bat. There's a couple others that get too far back there. Rational here with $5, buddy. Thank you. Says it's like in the Matrix when Cypher eats the steak and says ignorance is bliss. People would rather live ignorant, comfortable lives than make a change. And the thing is, though, that's not wrong. People like their routine. They don't want to see their things upheaved too often. But I do think you can weaponize that in the right fashion. You know what I mean? Like it has to be like a lot of surgical precision, but it has to be done in the right way. And the sadly, it's like the crazier people get the attention, and that ends up kind of delineating messages.
I think people only just put in the work when it's trending, and then once it stops trending, they're like, "Okay, not my problem anymore. I'm walking away."
Yeah.
Problem doesn't go away just because you walked away.
Moisture for $5 says this has been the most intellectual episode of BTR. Whatever, dude. I'll make a cum joke before I fucking leave tonight.
You just did.
That wasn't a joke. That was a threat. That wasn't even a threat. That was a promise.
Okay, you gotta.
That wasn't even a promise. It was my cum.
Oh my God. Okay.
Anyway, Ryan here says I love chicken and a biscuit. Dude, who doesn't, man? Are you kidding me? Music Man here says thank you, Matt. No, thank you guys for being here. McLeod says try to get Jessie Gender on. I'll tell you, if you want to reach out to her and like set it up, I kind of want to I like the conversation. And I wouldn't mind getting the alternate perspective on it, because I mean, Steven had his perspective. Getting an alternate perspective would be fine as well. I think Anna kind of fits that bill a little bit, which is why I really wanted to have Anna on. And so, yeah, it is good to get different perspectives. I also don't want to dwell on this every single fucking night. But it is what's going on right now. There's other stories I wanted to talk about we didn't even get to tonight. So, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. Reyes says, I also recommend Cat Black. Cat Black fucking hates me. She hates me.
What'd you do?
VidCon 2017.
Oh Lord, I don't know.
Gamergate. She
Okay.
hates me. So yeah, I would
I'm
never.
not surprised.
I would not get Cat Black on. Let's see. Jesse has an hour-long video on the very topic. Well, I will try to watch it tomorrow. I'll have probably time. I got to go. My car is probably dead for a while, so I got to go and get that taken in to the shop. All right. Okay. So listen, this is a exceptionally nuanced conversation that we had a very good time talking about. Mo here saying, "Kill me now." I saw your conversation in the chat, Mo. I can understand your frustration.
Give him more money, I'll do it for you.
No, because they can disagree in the chat, but I appreciate the last sane one's opinion as well. I may not agree with it, but I appreciate them coming here and expressing it because that's kind of the whole point.
Oh, I was literally kidding.
Yeah, sure, you are, Saggy.
No, I was kidding. I wasn't even paying attention to the chat. It was crazy.
Yeah, you're like, oh, fuck this shit. Anyway, so let me just. All right. So there was a $5 super chat here that I missed earlier from Mad1306. I am sorry, Mad. When like I've said, if there's a conversation that's happening, I'm not going to stop it to snag a super chat. That just because I want to keep the conversation going, but I do want to make sure that you do get acknowledged. Saying here that DC has the most main Justice League members in the LGBT community. Alan Scott, Green Lantern, John Kent, Superman, Tim Drake, Aqualad, but now Aquaman, and Calduram, who's next? I don't know. I'm probably mispronouncing that. No, I mean, that's true. In regards to LGBT members in comic books, I'd say probably DC has more. I mean, Christ, they were going to put fucking, Batwoman, gay AF, right, on the show. And fucking the first gay character in the MCU is in the Eternals. It's an ensemble, like that's it. The first gay leading character in a movie, and it's an ensemble because everyone's the leading character in an ensemble. So it's really just just not, but it's just, DC's like, fuck it. We're gonna showcase the gays, and Marvel's like, ooh, China. Yeah.
I can't.
It's true.
I can't.
It's true.
Just the way you said China.
China, and
like
then it's also
Trump,
like
China.
Saudi Arabia, the in Russia and a lot of these other countries that look at homosexuality as if it's like the sin against sins, as if they've never done anal.
God.
But it's okay. It's not gay when I do it. It's only gay if the balls touch.
Is it though?
I don't know. I've never been in a situation where I'm slapping sex.
Slapping sex.
Anyway, H Bart's with $5, man. Thank you. Says, have you ever studied Heaven's Gate, Branch Davidians, or Jonestown? Good odd subjects. Heaven's Gate, I have. I remember when that went down, and going to their website, which is still active, by the way. The Branch Davidians are interesting. Not super familiar with Jonestown. But yeah, those cults are fascinating stuff. I don't know if I'll ever do a lot of those for Stranger Days. Cults, maybe it will. I try to find things that haven't been wildly talked about yet. Which is why I know it's going to be a bit of a slow build for some of these subjects that I cover. But I feel like Heaven's Gate's been kind of done to death. I mean, literally. Never. Okay. They all killed themselves, right?
The what? Wait, what? Oh,
yeah, I said Heaven's Gate's been done to death.
Oh,
Literally.
you're dumb.
Because they drink cyanide.
I didn't know what we were talking about. I was like, wait, what is that? And I was like, that's was it the Jim Jones?
No, the Hale-Bopp comet. The comet that everyone committed seppuku with the frisbee. It was crazy.
Oh.
No, they all drink poison. They all drink cyanide while wearing
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, they drank the Kool-Aid while wearing Adidas tracksuits.
Oh yeah, that was one cult. That was
That was Heaven's Gate. Yeah, that was the big one. My friend was actually on the body recovery team.
Oh no.
For that, yeah, because he worked for the coroner and shit.
Oh, that's sad.
I should interview him once about what he saw there, Unless he's totally fucking lying to me, which that could be the case too. I have no idea.
That's
But
sad though.
That is sad.
There were kids.
There were kids there. Yeah, that was pretty bad. And then Jess here with Two Bones Man says we need to get away from the two-party system, which I very much agree with. You know what? But in our country, it's very difficult to do. All right. Mo Moon here says, "Kill me now." Are you coming on to her? Is that what's going on?
I wouldn't kill you, Mo Moon. I listen. I will say quick because I know Jared was trying to end. I did see what's going on in the chat with everybody, and I'm like, I love that we can at least have the conversations. At least for the most part, it was respectful. Even though people disagreed, but at least it was respectful. I expected some craziness to come into the chat tonight when that discussion was happening, but you all did amazing, and I respect every single one of you. So no, Mo, I will not kill you, but I will buy you bubble tea for all your troubles.
That sounds like a euphemism, but anyway.
Why does it?
It's not. It's late. I'm tired. Steven here saying, "Thank you all in the chat for hearing out my perspective. You're appreciated." Yeah, thank you very much, Steven. We appreciate you, buddy. But McLeod here, Matt Jarbo 2020. No. Are you kidding me? What would my running mate be? A fucking polar bear puppet? No way, man.
Oh, God, every time. If you could go through one stream without mentioning that fucking
I don't. Yeah, I have a thing with that puppet. I have a thing with that puppet.
Yeah,
but,
clearly we know you.
Yeah, because it would be used against me, is what it is. It's just me trying to protect myself from my own mistakes. It'd be like Mr. Garrison running for president with Mr. Hat. Hi, Mr. Hat. Or Vice President Hat.
God.
Anyway, McLeod here does make a good point. Says, up until Discovery came out, Star Trek has had a tough history of trying to get more LGBTQ characters in the franchise as main characters, which was in large part no thanks to Rick Berman. Yeah, I mean, like there was taboo for a long period of time. And so it's kind of like that. Anyway, on that note, it's time to say goodbye for tonight because it's late and I'm tired.
Yeah.
So, if you guys haven't already, please feel free to give the stream a like. If you had a good time, if you enjoyed the conversation. And we'll be back on tomorrow. And remember, you guys can follow me on social media here. Submit stories that we could talk about that aren't going to like turn into like massive conversations that need to be happening. But a lack of preparedness is not always the best. On my end. So, all right, guys, I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great night. Thank you again, and peace the hell out.